The floor is yours.
Okay, sounds good. Let's do a roll call. Mr. Stenbridge,
Here.
Ms. Bettabraza,
Here.
Mr. Shepherd,
Present.
Mr. Langham,
Here.
Ms. Wewell,
Here.
Mr. Valencia.
Here.
Okay, floor is yours, Mr. Stenbridge.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We will start off with the hearing scheduled for 11 a.m.
Are you asking for deferrals?
That would be the next thing I would ask for.
Awesome.
So at this point, we will ask if there are any withdrawals, deferrals that would be requested by applicant.
Yes, I have a deferral.
Okay, and for which cases that's
That is 277, 279 Rosendale Avenue in Rosendale.
so what you're referring to is case BOA 1468247 with the address
That is
number.
correct. That is correct, sir. Thank you.
The address of 277 to 279 Rosendale Avenue. Would you identify yourself and explain, please?
Yes, thank you. My name is Luis Centeno, and I am representing the owner, Mr. Jose de la Rosa.
And what's the reason for your deferral?
We have to continue working with the community. We didn't have time in order to complete that process, although we did have a community meeting. But we have to continue the outreach and working with them.
Okay. Any questions from the board? Javier, next available date?
I would suggest to put October 31st as the next date for the applicant to continue the community process.
Okay, that, may I have a motion?
I make a motion to defer to August 31st,
October 31st.
October 31st.
Thank you. May I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Stenbridge,
Yes.
Ms. Bettabraza,
Yes.
Mr. Shepherd,
Yes.
Mr. Langham,
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Valencia.
Yes.
Chair also votes yes. Motion carries.
Thank you.
There's a hand raised, Edward. I don't know if you,
Yes. My name is Edward Gata. My camera is, I apologize, but I am the developer for 48-54 Torrey Street, BOA number 1461525.
I'll read it then, don't worry. Go ahead.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah, we are,
So let me, bear with me. Thank you. Case BOA 1461525, with the address being 48-54 Torrey Street. Thank you, go ahead.
sure. We have to unfortunately request a deferral to the next available hearing date based on a zoning code refusal review having been done last Friday, and the zoning code refusal letter being updated to add 2 violations that were missed on our original violation letter.
Madam Chair, I would suggest September 26th, 2020. I think we need it, Madam Chair.
Matt.
See,
Oh, sorry. May I have a motion to defer?
Motion to defer until September, what is the date again?
26.
26th.
26 to 24.
May I have a second?
Second.
Okay, Mr. Stenbridge,
Yes.
Ms. Bettabraza,
Yes.
Mr. Shepherd,
Yes.
Mr. Langham,
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Wewell,
Yes.
Mr. Valencia.
Yes.
Chair also votes yes. Motion carries. See you then.
Thank you all.
I believe we have one more on the phone number with the hand raised.
Okay.
Just ask them to repeat.
Okay, caller, go ahead, 617-415.
That's what we say. Hello?
Yes, are you calling about a case for deferral?
Yes, on Rosendale Ave.
Okay, that's already been deferred, so you're an abutter, I'm guessing. Okay, so any other deferrals?
Any more deferrals or withdrawals from 11 p.m., 11 a.m.?
I don't see any more raising. So.
All right.
Okay, we'll try and move it along without mistakes like that. Case BOA 1444270, the address of 27 Shepherd Street. Is the applicant and or their representative present?
Well, someone in the chat looked like they were with the case.
Okay, Nick Landry, is that you?
I see a Michael Welsh and Anthony King.
Hi, this is Michael Welsh and Anthony King here as well, the applicant. My name is Michael Welsh with Dalton and Feingold on behalf of the applicant in this matter. And we also have with us our architect who will be following up with some information on the design in 1 second. Just pulling out my notes here. Excuse me for 1 second. Okay, so the property is 27 Shepherd Street in Brighton, Massachusetts, and this is for a proposed project, which is a new construction, 3-story multifamily building with 6 dwelling units and 7 off-street parking spaces. The zoning relief that we're seeking is for additional lot area per dwelling unit, floor area ratio, and for off-street parking. The initial plans also had a violation for the side yard setback because the design was utilizing the side wall of the existing structure, which has a 4.8-foot setback, but that violation was eliminated during the community process by expanding the setback to 10 feet. Just for a brief summary of the community process, the applicants had 3 abutters meetings and 3 additional meetings with the BAIA. They have 5 letters of support from abutters. They've had several meetings on the design with BPDA and gotten feedback on the design to get ahead of that and incorporate some of that. They've discussed the project with Council Breeden's office, and they've incorporated some feedback from the community and the BPDA into the design, such as this, eliminating the side yard setback, lowering the basement to make it more ADA compliant on the front as well as the side. And there's some other changes that Nick, our architect, can go over as well. With that, I think that I'll just hand it over to Nick and let him kind of describe some of the changes that were made in the design. And then I'll be available for any questions after that.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
For some reason, I can't turn the video on or share my screen. Can someone?
Can't share your screen, so you need to use what you submitted.
Sure. So if we want to go up to the, there we go, thank you.
We lose Mr. Landry.
Sorry, I think it muted me when I got it. So sorry, and again, this is Nick Landry, the architect from DRT. So on this page, we see the site plan. The street is on the lower portion of the page. I think it's cut off a little bit right now. There's an existing 2-family structure at the front and a garage toward the rear. There's an existing curb cut and driveway to the left of the building, which we're going to maintain. There'll be no additional, there won't be widening the curb cut, keeping the same width. The new building is hatched in over the existing building. You can see we've got a parking area to the rear of the building with 7 spots for the 6 units proposed. If you want to go down to the next page, I think this that page right there, perfect. With the colors, yeah, perfect. So today you can see the drawings on the top of the page with the pink shading, that's the existing building and the existing footprint from the street. Our new building from the street side is the green that you're seeing there. It's roughly the same width as what there is today, what's there today. And it's slightly taller than what's there today. Today it's a 2-story building, and we're gonna be adding dormers in the attic to make that space habitable. But from the street view, it maintains roughly the same presence. There's a main entry at the front of the building, and then there's also a side entry. We have a ramp that's gonna get you into the front and to the side entry, to provide ADA access to all of the units. All the units on the ground floor, sorry. And you can see we've kind of broken it up. We've got, all the units are duplexed, so the front portion of the building, you've got a unit on the first floor in the basement, the middle is a front floor in the basement, and the rear is the first floor in the basement. Off the rear of the building, we've created a sunken patio to get light down into the bedrooms in the basement. And we've done the same along the side of the building, just trying to get more light down there to those spaces. Up on the upper floors, you can see we've got, it's a similar setup where the first floor that you enter into the unit on is more of the common area, kitchen, living, dining. And then the spaces above are the bedrooms. We've got a small deck off the rear of the building, and then we've got a small deck off the side of the building on the second floor. And then up on the third floor, there's one roof deck dedicated to just the unit in the front of the building that's set back from the street, so you don't see it from the street. If you want to keep going. So that's a demo plan. I think there should be a couple elevations in here, and keep going. So that site plan, if you want to stop on that for one step, I can walk through that. But.
Will you speak to the parking spaces and the landscaping and trees?
Yeah, so is that in this set? Do we have that page? No. So the landscaping will be in the front of the building, and then also along the side of the building between, if you're looking to building the right-hand side, we'll have trees planted all the way down that side of the building to kind of buffer it from the neighbors. We're meeting the setback on that side of the building. Obviously, you can see the neighboring houses are close, so we wanted to try to, one of the comments that we had received is that, they wanted some, more privacy in that area. There'll be a fence around the rear of the building and some trees planted in front of the cars to buffer the neighbors to the rear. And then there'll be a fence all the way down the driveway side of the building. If you want to, and then like I said, the parking's in the rear there. If you want to keep going. So this elevation, this roof plan here shows that roof deck up at the top. You can see, sorry, you can't see my cursor, but on the left-hand side of the screen, that brown box, that's the roof deck, and it's accessed directly from the unit. No, it's the one right there. Yep. And that's accessed directly from the unit below. And then, again, that's a private deck that you can't see from the street. And if we keep going down, so there you go. So the front elevation there on the right-hand side, you can see that's what's there today are 2 stories without the dormers. And again, this is an elevation from the street, which is why you're seeing that roof deck. You can see on the east elevation to the left there, the roof deck set back far enough so that you can't see it from the street. And you can see we've got the 2 entries for 2 of the units there on the front, and then on the side there's a side door, and it looks to me like this set isn't the most updated set because there's a ramp on the side of the building, so I'm not sure what's going on there. But There's a ramp on that side door now to get into the side door as there is in the front. Do you want to keep going down?
Okay, maybe we can pause here for questions.
Sure.
Are there any questions from the board?
I think the architect just clarified that what we have in front of us is not the most updated drawings, just because I couldn't find any ramps on the plans and the elevation. So it's good to know that you've accommodated for accessibility. We're just not seeing it.
Yeah, so I'm not sure why you don't have the most updated set, but that was a change that we had spoken, we preemptively reached out, I think to the BPDA just to get some input on design, and that was one comment that came back.
Okay. Any other questions from the board?
Yeah, I have one question.
Yes, sir.
Are any of these units low-income units?
As of right now, no, they aren't. The plan is for all of these to be ownership units. This isn't a rental building.
Question about the parking and the open space. I see, I'm looking on the Google Maps, and there are trees and a lot of green space in the back. You are removing all the trees, you are removing all the green space to build a huge parking lot for 7 cars. What are the reasons you didn't consider reducing the parking count for this project?
Two things about that. I'm glad you mentioned that. First of all, I think, and I didn't mention this, so the parking area will definitely have permeable pavers, because I know that's one concern about rainwater runoff, whatnot. But as far as the trees in the parking, that was when we had, like I think Michael had mentioned, we had several community meetings, and parking in this area is a large concern because of it being a one-way street. It's fairly densely populated, so that was a very big concern of the neighbors, is that we provide as much parking as possible.
And how far is the next TS station or bus station, bus stop?
I think, I don't have that number off the top of my head. I can get that for you in a second. I think it's within walking distance. I think it's at the end of Shepherd.
Yes, just reading the BPDA recommendation, they mentioned that the project has excessive parking, considering that there is public transportation available nearby. I just wanted to make that comment because I read that on the BPDA mail.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, another comment is that you have 3 sets of 2-bedroom units, all below grade. They're just kind of really dark bedrooms. You have one, when they're townhouse typologies, you have one on the first floor that has direct access to light, but it's very submerged. So you're putting a lot of bedrooms, the majority of it, with very small window openings. They're acting more as just window egress. So just to make a comment that it'll be interesting to hear BPDA's, if Jeff Hampton is here, I would love to hear his feedback in terms of that, because one is okay, but to have majority of bedroom units under sunken, I would love to hear BPDA's position on that.
Mr. Hampton, are you available?
Yep, of course. Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. Honestly, the concern for us is building code relief with that much living space below ground. The number of bedrooms in the basement wasn't an issue. The board has touched on the issues that we have raised as concerns. The number of parking spaces where it's right in the middle of Brighton Center. We think, even though they're already deficient in the number of parking spaces, we think 7's too much. So we'd like to see that changed. I know the appellant's already addressed one of the issues with terms of accessibility by putting in those ramps, and we appreciate it because we saw the exact same plans from the planning department as you all are seeing it right now. But to answer your question, Ms. Betta-Barraza directly, The bedrooms weren't a concern, having them in the basement. Our concern is the building code. That's
So
all.
would you say that you're advocating for the ability to have just additional habitable rooms, units, that moves forward more so than a little bit of, lack of light and air?
I don't think I'd be advocating for that. We don't have a problem with this particular project. That's what I'm trying to say. I don't know if I'd say me or the agency would be advocating for that moving forward.
Okay, great. Thanks for your
Thank
opinion.
you.
Okay, any other questions from the board? Let's take public testimony.
Yes, good afternoon, or good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Frank Mendoza, also Brighton Liaison, Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services here to testify that the applicant had an abutters meeting last on May 30th. Some of the abutters who were present had concerns based on privacy, noise, setback, parking, shadow, size, density, and available open space. We received 5 letters of support and 1 letter of opposition, which we forwarded to the board. The board should have those on file. The applicant also presented to the Brighton Allston Improvement Association. Their zoning chair, Annabella Gomes, I believe, is present now to testify as to the stance of the BAIA on this project. With that said, we will defer to the judgment of the board at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other raised hands?
Yep, caller 062252, go ahead. Or Annabella?
Madam Chair, members of the board, Annabelle Gomes, the Brighton Allston Improvement Association. We voted against this one.
This time also Annabella.
Yeah, can you?
Yeah, sorry, it's the rain storms getting heavy here. Can you hear me now?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so we voted against this project due to the density, the setbacks, the neighbors' concerns. One of the concerns is also having the bedrooms and the units in the basement is difficult because that street is very, very narrow. The houses are all somewhat non-conforming and on top of each other, and even getting a fire engine down that street is very difficult. The parking that's available there, taking up the street. Sometimes it's very hard to get down, and that's one of the concerns that the neighbors have. So, as we do support development, we think that 6 units is too much, and eliminating some of the basement units would be a great outcome. And also, many of the neighbors didn't like the fact that the house is very close. Because the noise is just going to be very high, especially up there. So that was one thing that they didn't like as well. Thank you.
Okay.
Gary?
Hello, my name is Gary Ma. I'm a butter. I'm on the next, 25 Shepherd Street is next to it. I just want to register my opposition to it. Also said the same thing in the budget meeting. I think all 4 of our owners are opposed to it, not just one. The reason is that now it's a small building, it's a lot of open space, green trees. There's 3 trees outside my property, just facing, this 27 beautiful trees. I think they will be removed, the last 3 trees right there. And the big 3 bedroom, 3 level buildings will definitely block the sunlight to my properties. And also there are parking issues and the noise, privacy issues, and I think they already expressed by the previous speakers, and definitely follow that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other raised hands?
Have no additional raised hands.
Okay. Would the applicant like to respond to some of that before we proceed?
Yeah, the only thing that I'll just briefly mention is I know that 2 concerns were raised, one being setbacks and one being, the elimination of open space or open space in general. So I just note that we don't have violations for those. We did extend the side yard that goes up against 25 Shepherd Street to accommodate that, so to make that further away. And again, those are just two things that we're not seeking relief for.
Okay.
Just about the trees, we had done a shadow study showing that the trees that are there today block more light than the building that's being proposed. So I know, although we are removing trees, there was a comment about shading, and just wanted to let you know.
Thank you. Any last questions from the board? Hearing none, may I have a motion?
Madam Chair, I will put forth a motion to approve with a couple of provisos, that the plans be submitted to the BPDA for design review and no building code relief shall be granted, and that the proponent redesign the floor plans for the project for accessibility. I guess it's unclear if that's been done. It doesn't seem like those are the plans we saw today. And to lastly, reduce the number of parking spaces to be between 0 and 6 spaces with the goal of preserving permeable area and trees.
May I have a second?
Second.
Stenbridge.
Yes.
Ms. Better-Bra? Ms. Better-Braza?
Yes, I'm gonna go no. I don't have a problem with the 6 units, but I do have a problem with the amount of bedrooms in the basement, because it seems like when you're requiring a variance, I don't necessarily see such a hardship. I think you can make good use of the property without necessarily putting so many bedrooms in the basement.
Okay. Mr. Shepherd?
Yes.
Mr. Langham?
Yes.
Ms. Wewell?
Yes.
Mr. Valencia?
Yes.
Chair also votes yes. Motion carries. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Next on the agenda, we have case BOA 1473928. The address of 4 to 6 Alcott Street. Is the applicant and or the representative present?
I am. Good morning, Madam Chair, Mr. Secretary, and members of the board. Attorney Matt Eckel with Fletcher Tilton with a business address of 100 Franklin Street on behalf of the applicant. What we're speaking this morning at 4-6 Alcott Street is to change the occupancy from a 2-family to a 3-family, rebuild the rear decks, and erect a rear egress stairwell. The project will also include the installation of a sprinkler system. Right there on the screen, you're just seeing the existing conditions largely remaining the same. Currently, the building contains a 2-family dwelling with a built-out 3rd story. The only changes we're proposing to the building are to rebuild the decks in the rear. The 1st floor and 2nd floor decks are actually getting a little smaller to accommodate the rear egress stair. And then the 3rd floor deck will be getting a little bit bigger to match the decks below. And the stairwell will obviously provide a second means of egress to all 3 units. This property is located in a 3F 4000 zoning subdistrict. So the proposed 3-family is an allowed use. The existing lot size is 3,214 square feet, and our gross square footage is 3,547 square feet. This will not change. Again, the only changes we're proposing are the rear decks being rebuilt and the new stairwell. In terms of the floor plans as they exist today, first floor contains unit 1, it's approximately 1,350 square feet, a 3-bedroom, 1-bathroom unit. Floor 2 will contain the second unit, which is also 1,350 square feet, 3-bedroom, 1-bathroom unit. And the 3rd floor proposed new unit as unit 3, will be 850 square feet, 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom. The majority of the violations that were cited for this proposal are pre-existing. We are seeking relief for open space. However, the total open space is actually staying relatively the same. We're just increasing the unit count, which makes that requirement go up. We also got cited for parking due to the additional unit. However, we do have 2 parking spaces, and by keeping the building, we obviously cannot add any additional parking. I would note we are keeping the bedroom count exactly the same, so even though we're required the extra parking space, the bedroom count and density actually isn't increasing. With that, I'll pause and happily answer any questions the board may have.
Thank you, appreciate it. Any questions from the board? Okay, hearing none, I'm going to take public testimony.
Yes, good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Frank Mendoza here, also right liaison, Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. We did hold a butters meeting for this applicant on June the 6th. We also received 2 letters of support regarding this project that the board should have on file. We did have one abutter present at the meeting on June 6th who had concerns about parking and expressed opposition to the project. With that said, we will defer to the judgment of the board at this time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, this is Maura McCray from Councilor Braden's office. The council would like to go on record in support of this project. Thank you.
Bob. Sorry, any other elected official's office? If not, I'll go to Bob.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Paul Sullivan, City Council at Large, Michael Flaherty, Council to record in support.
Bob?
Yes, Madam Chair, members of the board, Bob D'Amico, BTD. Maybe I missed it, but I didn't see the actual location of the parking spaces. Can I look at that, please?
Sure, Mr. D'Amico, the parking is currently located on the right side of the property. There's an existing curb cut with 2 existing parking spaces. It kind of goes from the right side of the property line almost to the main entrance. So you can see the existing driveway there called out on the front right. That's remaining unchanged. And if you go up to the existing conditions, you can see in the image as well where the parking is.
Does this have front yard parking?
Yes, it's pre-existing. It doesn't wrap around, it's in the front right.
Well, then I have to go in opposition to that. I know it's existing, but since you're doing this, you're changing the actual layout of the property, and because of that, I have to go in opposition because our new policies, we do not allow front yard parking. Thank you.
Thanks. Tony, and then Michael.
Yes, good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Tony Disadoro, representing the Alston Civic Association. This is a longtime owner of the property who's done a good job in maintaining the property. We feel that the modifications being made are reasonable and appropriate, given that the proponent worked closely with direct abutters. So we would like to go on record in support.
Michael?
Hi, I would also like to go on record of support. I am a current tenant of 4 Alcott Street, and Taz, our landlord, has been super communicative with us about the process, what we can expect before signing. We're really excited about the prospect of a sprinkler system in our unit as well for fire safety. And the tenants of 4 Alcott don't foresee any issue and all want to go on record in support of this. Thank you.
I have no additional raised hands.
Thank you. Any final questions from the board? Hearing none, may I have a motion?
Madam Chair, I'll put forward a motion of approval, and I also just want to, give respect to Mr. D'Amico's comment about the parking. However, I recognize if they were to extend that parking, it would result in additional paving. So I think it's just a difference of opinion, but I'm supportive of this project as is. Thank you.
I have a second. Okay, thank you. Mrs. Stumbridge. Ms. Benabraza.
Yes.
Mr. Shepherd.
Yes.
Mr. Langham.
No.
Ms. Wheelo.
Yes.
Mr. Valencia.
Yes.
Chair also votes yes. Motion carries.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, members of the board.
Thank you.
Next on the list, we have case BOA 1412139. The address being 25 Holbrook Street. It's the applicant and the representative present.
Hi, Aaron, are you looking at, is this your case? I think Chris was on earlier, but.
Yes.
Okay.
Hi, good morning, Madam Chair, member of the board. My name is James Christopher, 686 Architects, with business address of 1156 Dorchester Ave. I'm joined today by Ben and Pam Ford, the homeowners, and William Christopher, the project architect. Just as a summary of our process to date, we held an abutters meeting on site with the abutters, presented the project and reviewed the plans. Madam Chair, this looks like this is the previous set. It's a fourth, the current iteration, we've removed the fourth floor. It was resubmitted and re-reviewed by ISD. But basically, we held at a butters meeting, we met with Gated Heaven Civic Group several times. We worked with the butters to explain some concerns regarding the site drainage, shadow studies and that, and the current condition of the site. So with that, I'll turn it over to William, who will go over the plans.
Good morning. Thank you for hearing us. It is important to note that the new addition, the new building proposed, not the ones that are illustrated here of this project, is a three-story construction. The existing foundation was a Board of Appeals approval in 2009, and that set the limits for what the side yard, rear yard, front yard setbacks would be. So that this building is designed to sit directly onto that foundation. The first floor of the building is at grade with coal work. There are tandem parking spaces there for 2 cars. There's an entrance lobby with a lift so that you'll have accessibility throughout the entire building with a private lift. And then there's storage in the back corner. On the second floor,
if you advance the slides, you can go to the floor plan.
Hello? Okay. That's citing the property as it sits today.
Keep going.
The second floor.
Keep going.
That's the first floor. The second floor is the, this has been revised. So yeah, that's the second floor. Two bedrooms, 2 baths. The master bedroom is here with the deck off to the left-hand side there for some open space.
Next slide, please.
The next slide is the third floor, which is really the living area for the facility. This is where there's a half bath located. The kitchen living area is there, as well as the deck off the back of the building facing towards Carson Beach.
The fourth floor has been removed. There is no proposal.
There is no fourth floor, yeah.
Madam Chair, this is Javier. I spoke with the plans examiner. This case actually is filed under the wrong application, so it needs to be dismissed without prejudice. So the applicant.
That's incorrect. It's an ALT.
Yes, it needs to be refiled as a PRT, not an ALT.
Well,
It's an existing foundation with the basement.
Okay, well, I'm gonna defer to Javier, so with that, may I have a motion?
Can we get clarification?
Javier?
That is what the claims examiner says, that it's incorrectly filed under the wrong application. It needs to be refiled to an ERT application. I am recommending to do a dismissal without prejudice.
Okay, with that, may I have a motion?
I will make a motion to dismiss without prejudice.
May I have a second?
Barraza. Second.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Stenbridge?
Yes.
Ms. Better Barraza?
Yes.
Mr. Shepherd?
Yes.
Mr. Langham?
Yes.
Ms. Wewell?
Yes.
Mr. Valencia?
Yes.
Chair also votes yes. Motion carries.
Could we have a moment of clarity, please?
You should take, I'm going to ask you to take that offline with the staff. Thank you.
Madam Chair, at this time, at beyond 11:30.
Yep.
Discussion. So at this point, I will ask if there are any requests for any withdrawals or deferral from the 11:30 time frame.
Yes, Mr. Stenbridge, it's Attorney Richard Lynn, 74 Forest Street, please.
Yes, so that means case BOA 1459061 with your address of 74 R Street. Here to
yes.
What?
Yes, thank you. For the record, Madam Chair, members of the board, Richard Lins, 245 Sumner Street, East Boston, on behalf of the petitioner. Madam Chair, since the last hearing, we have been in the process of updating the plan. We just have not received back the updated review from the plans examiner. So we need a brief deferral in order to get that finalized so that the board has the most up-to-date set of plans before it.
Okay. What's the next available, Ms. Javier?
Would October 17th work for the applicant, just the plans examiner's going to review it?
I believe so. I was hoping, and if it's not available, I understand if there was that September 26th was also available. If we could do that, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, we can put it there. I just didn't know if the plans examiner.
Yeah, it's just about done. Thank you, Javier. We're just about ready. It's just we didn't have it back in time for today's hearing.
Okay, then I think September 26th should be fine.
Hey, Javier, don't keep stacking them. With that, may I have a motion?
I make a motion to defer till September the 26th.
Thank you, Mr. Stenbridge.
Yes.
Ms. Benabraza.
Yes.
Mr. Shepherd.
Yes.
Mr. Langham.
Yes.
We will.
Yes.
Mr. Valencia.
Yes.
Chair also votes yes. Motion carries.
Thank you very much. Thanks for accommodating that request.
Any further requests for withdrawals or deferrals at this time, frame? With that, then we go back to the 11 a.m. hearing, and we move on to case BOA 1408665, the address being 16 Piedmont Street. It's the applicant and or their representative present.
Yes, good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. I am here on behalf of the owner, and I am joined also by the architect, Mr. Benny Bird. And the proposed project here is a one-story addition to an existing two-story addition with a mezzanine. This building as exists right now is around 1,700 square feet. And we are proposing to add one story with a roof deck for a large family. The addition will contain 2 bedrooms and a bathroom. The variances, the height is being increased. There are 3 violations essentially. One is the floor area ratio, which will be slightly increased by about 0.5. It's an existing non-conforming condition as it sits on a 695 square feet lot. And the other violation is the restricted roof structure. In that particular area, every time that the roof profile or configuration is altered, relief will be required from that section. So that's, the height is being increased by about 10 feet, slightly less than 10. And the building, I don't know if you have renderings that were submitted later, shows that the building will be at or slightly below the 2 adjacent buildings. And within the required height per zoning, which is 35 feet. Light means of egress as required per code is provided to that story and to the roof deck, and also light and ventilation as required per code is provided. There are no openings on either side of the proposed addition as they are restricted by the property line. Openings would be only on the front and rear of the building. Via that L-shaped configuration which we are proposing to continue from the existing stories below. And if you have any questions with the owner went through extensive community review. We had 2 meetings with the Bay Village Neighborhood Association. We also met with the Landmarks Commission, and the full hearing with the Landmarks was deferred, or the Zoning Board of Appeals is granted. Other than that, if you have any questions, I will be happy to answer them.
Any questions from the board? Hearing none, may we have public testimony?
Hi, yes. Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Kim Crucioli from the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Service. Our office would like to defer to the board at this time. We had a community meeting that our office held in November of 2022, and they also met with the Bay Village Neighborhood Association, which they were opposed to the head house structure. I've also received 18 letters of support in the community. We'd like to defer to the board at this time. Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the board. This is Vanessa Wu from Council President Flynn's office. Council President Flynn would like to go on record in support based on a thorough community process and the majority of the project being acceptable to a number of neighbors and abutters. Thank you.
Thank you. Robert and then Stefan?
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
My name is Robert Detson. I represent Steve Rosen, the direct abutter to this project at 12 Piedmont Street, Unit 5. Mr. Rosen opposes the project because it will completely box in his back deck, foreclosing light and views from the deck and negatively impacting his privacy. To be clear, this isn't about opposing all development at this site. The second floor could be extended all the way to the rear without impacting Mr. Rosen, and the proposed third floor and roof deck could be configured in a similar manner to the current second floor without impacting Mr. Rosen. Instead of exploring these ideas, and even after Mr. Rosen reached out to the applicant opted to ignore Mr. Rosen and the legitimate harm this project will cause to him. No one will be more harmed by this project than Mr. Rosen. He values his privacy and enjoys the privacy and light currently available on his back deck. I'd like to make 3 quick points on the strict variance standards because this project does not satisfy any of them. First, the lot is roughly the same size as many other residential lots in the area. At 18 by 38, it's almost exactly the same size as most of the lots on Melrose Street, which is parallel to Piedmont. Second, the land can be reasonably used as a residential home, and in fact, it is currently in use by the applicant as a residential home. And third, the project is inconsistent with the surrounding neighborhood. Very few properties in this neighborhood have roof decks, and none that I could find have the massive head house being proposed for this project, which brings me to one final point. It's regarding the height. No height variance was sought here. However, under section 63-20, the roof structures are supposed to be included in the height, and when considered with the height required in this district, this project does exceed the height. For these reasons, we encourage the board to hold this project to the dimensional standards required and to protect the neighborhood and Mr. Rosen in particular. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Stefan?
Hi, this is Steve Burdick. I'm an owner.
I'm sorry, you're muted.
Hi, this is Steve Burdick. I'm the owner at number 18 and 20 that butters to this number 16. And we've attended a number of the meetings that the architect has brought these drawings. We've asked that the upper floors be stepped back from the street, and I haven't seen these changes having happened. And it just seems like overly, just too much for what the neighborhood, the style of the neighborhood. So I would ask that the board reject this drawing. Thank you.
Thank you. Mark, and then Earl.
Oh, hi, this is Mark Valentine. I live with my family at 12 Piedmont Street, right next door. And just wanted to share a statement of support for the family at 16 Piedmont Street in terms of their character and that they're a good asset to the neighborhood and the community. And my family right next door personally doesn't have any issue, and we would support the project as it's being proposed.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I'm sorry, Louis, are you looking to give testimony?
Hello? Is the attorney.
Yes, thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. Yep, go ahead.
Hello?
Yes, Mr. Winthrop.
Yes, thank you. I'm a resident in the neighborhood, very close to the property that we're discussing. As Mark said, I believe that was Mark, I am in total support of of this modification. I've been in the neighborhood for more than 11 years. This family is a hugely positive to our neighborhood and our wonderful neighbors. No abutter is going to very few abutters are going to approve any modifications to properties. I will also say that there is a 20-story building that's across the street that was recently erected from the property, or 1 block over. And I totally support this project.
Are there any other raised hands? Jessica, are there any other raised hands?
Sorry, yeah, there's 3 more raised hands. Do you want me to keep going? I'm sorry, 2 more. Do you want me to keep going?
We'll listen to those 2 and that's it.
Okay.
I think we
Benny and it's Steve.
get the idea.
Yes.
State your address for the record, please.
I'm Benny Bear. I'm the architect for the project with the business address of 2001 Beacon Street in Brighton. And I'd like to just mention that the drawings that are presented here today are somewhat outdated. We have modified the design to recede from the street to the comment of one of the abutters. We submitted them yesterday, and I'm somewhat surprised that they're not presented here, but the design has reduced has receded from the street on the addition. Thank you.
Okay. And Steve. Steve, go ahead. Okay. Steve? Okay, I'm not sure what's happening with his audio, but have no additional raised hands.
Okay. Are there any other questions from the board? I think if Mr. Santana can clarify the conversation, the comments from your direct abutters, that would be helpful.
Yes, thank you. Well, first of all, on the head house that I heard the comment that is massive, it is a requirement from the state building code. There is a conflict in the provisions of the restricted roof structure and the state building code. That particular section of the zoning permits access to the roof deck by a hatch. Unfortunately, the building code, which in cases of conflict prevails when designing a structure, requires that access to an occupied roof, and I provide that on the code report that is with the documentation. Access to the roof has to be provided by a penthouse. It's not safe to have a hatch in this particular case, especially with legal development at the property. Now, the other thing with respect to light and ventilation, the existing condition of the rear of the property is sort of an existing courtyard. It's surrounded by walls by the abutter at 12 Piedmont Street, the 16 Piedmont Street, this particular case, in the rear building. So by building this additional story, the same configuration of that rear yard as not necessarily 100% a courtyard, but yet function as such, the light and ventilation will not be obstructed. That will remain as it is. It's not the ideal condition, obviously, because it exists, but I don't think that the addition will be significantly detrimental to that condition.
Okay. Are there any other questions from the board?
Yes, I have a question. In regards to Article 63, Section 6320 of roof structure restriction, and if Jeff Hampton can speak on it or the architect can speak on it. I am reading here that it says roof structure head houses and mechanical equipment normally built above the roof and not designed or used for human occupancy shall be included in measuring the building height of the total area. So is the violation, don't we need a variance for the roof height to include that head house?
Not if
the structures do not occupy more than 33 1/3% of the roof area.
The 300, that's right, a aggregate of 330 square feet. Okay, so they're okay with that. So that was just a concern from one of the abutters. So they're in compliant. It conforms.
If they weren't, they would have been cited by ISD.
Right. I had to look it up because it was addressed by one of the abutters.
I understand. Yep, thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Hearing none, may I have a motion?
Madam Chair, I would like to make a motion to approve with the proviso that plans should be submitted to Boston Landmarks Commission for design review.
Okay, may I have a second?
I second.
Okay, Mr. Stumpage?
Yes.
Ms. Better Brazza?
Yes.
Mr. Shepherd?
Yes.
Mr. Langham?
Yes.
Ms. Wewell?
Yes.
Mr. Valencia?
Yes.
Chair also votes yes, the motion carries.
Next, we move on to case BOA 1480704, the address of 540 Commonwealth Avenue. Is the applicant and was their representative present?
Hi, Daniel, is that you? I sent a request to unmute you.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Great, sorry, my Wi-Fi cut out, so I'm on my phone here. So my name's Daniel Brennan. I handle permits and licenses for Starbucks. There's a former Qdoba Mexican grill space over near Fenway Park. We're looking for to change that out to a new Starbucks coffee shop. The space is just over 2,000 square feet, and we're proposing 16 interior seats. The 36A restaurant with takeout use is conditional, and I believe it was granted for this petitioner only, so we need to go through this process.
Okay. Any questions from the board? Hearing none?
Yeah, I have one question. I have a question, because I know it's a Starbucks around there. Where exactly will this Starbucks be located?
So I guess it would be across the street from, I'm drawing a blank, that hotel near Fenway Park, the Circular.
The Marriott?
No, not the Marriott.
The Buckminster?
Yeah, the Buckminster. It's across the street from the Buckminster.
But isn't that a Citizens Bank across the street from there?
I'm not sure. I think there's a McDonald's next to us as well. This used to be a Qdoba.
Okay, so it's on the side of where McDonald's at. Okay, I know exactly where that's at now.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions from the board? Hearing none, can I have public testimony?
Yes, Madam Chair, members of the board, Connor Newman with the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. This time, the Mayor's Office likes to defer to the judgment of this board. Some background information on the community process. The applicant worked closely with the Kenmore Association and the Fenway Civic Association. Both civic associations issued letters in support of this proposal. With that, we'll defer to the board. Thank you.
Minor?
Madam Chair, members of the board, Paul Sullivan, City Council at Large, Michael Flaherty, Council, put on record support.
Thank you, Madam Ambassador. Madam Chair, members of the board, Minor Perez with the Carpenters Union would like to go on record in support of this project.
I have no additional reasons.
With that, may I have a motion?
Madam Chair, I'd like to put forward a motion of approval.
May I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Stumbridge?
Yes.
Ms. Better Brazza?
Yes.
Mr. Shepherd?
Yes.
Mr. Langham?
Yes.
Ms. Wewell?
Yes.
Mr. Valencia?
Yes.
Chair also votes yes, motion carries.
Thank you.
Now we'll move on to the discussion hearing scheduled for 11:30. We will go to case BOA 9546. The address of 45 Winthrop Street. Is the applicant and or their representative present?
So, Mr. Feaster, please be brief. I know we spent a lot of time on history last time. Thank you.
Madam Chair, having sat where you sat, I will definitely be brief.
Thank you.
I will definitely attempt to do that, but thank you very much to be able to come before the full board. Joseph Feaster for the law firm of Dane Torpy, 175 Federal Street, Suite 1500, Boston. This is really an effort on the part of the applicants who are on Michael William and Valerie Desmangeles to just simply realign an existing curb cut. What I didn't have when we met before the subgroup was the information on the history of this curb cut, which predates 1984, and I provided that information for the board, and it should be in the board's records, that the Public Works Commission did work on Winter Street, and so prior to 1984, and the curb cut was there, and the city recognized that and did the work and recognized that curb cut.
Can you ask quickly, I'm sorry, we're looking at the wrong address, 80 Winthrop?
Yeah, this is, yes, these are drawings, these are just examples that are
okay.
No, there should be a drawing up there of the actual plan, so
okay.
after it can go to.
I just want to make sure people aren't thinking they're looking at your site right now.
Oh, no, you're absolutely correct, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Additionally, what I submitted was information again in 2015 and 2023, when the, again, Public Works had hearings and addressed Winter Street, recognizing this particular curb cut. And as I mentioned from the outset, it's simply a realignment, not in terms of to create or to establish a new curb cut. Two other issues I'd like to mention, Madam Chair, in order to be brief, is when my clients who the wife who is a registered nurse, and that's one of the reasons why she gets home at various points in time, late in the evening, early in the morning, and wanted to have a space where she could park on their property. And then they have aged family members who are visiting and wanted to provide them with a space as well. When they bought this property in 2021, and this is a property that was built in 1890, but when they bought this property in 2021, I also submitted for the board's information that the brokerage said that there were 2 parking spaces here. Lastly, what we have here before I have Mr. Marini talk about the exact dimensions that we're talking about, a simple realignment, is that there has been a lot of support for this project. I submitted a petition of 57 signatures in support of this project. I have a letter in support by Councilor Fernandez Anderson and one from a retired firefighter, Stephen Moss, and I believe that as well, Councilor Louisiane is also in support of this. So with that, I would just ask for Mr. Marini just to give the board the dimensions that we're talking about here, and I believe that he has been listed as a panelist. So Mr. Marini.
This is Rob Marini, Native Tech, 31 Monroe Street in Lynn. We prepared these plans. The width of the curb cut is not changing. It's 18 feet on the outside of the curbstones, and that's just shifting. It's shifting 5.57 feet to the right or to the north. So that enables 2 compact cars to maneuver independently as depicted in the plan. The sidewalk remains concrete. The spaces themselves would be paved and bituminous, but that's on the site itself. So really, within the public right-of-way, it's just a matter of shifting the curb cut opening 5.57 feet to the right, and the curb will be installed for this segment here and will be removed for this segment here, so that we have this opening more centered on the property itself.
Madam Chair, that concludes our presentation.
Any questions from the board?
Madam Chair, I have a question. trying to figure out, what the existing conditions are. Do you have any visuals of, what the driveway was before? I'm trying to
Yes,
find the
there's,
Google Maps, but it's under
yes.
construction.
If the ambassador can go through, we submitted one which showed the brokerage drawing, which shows the site at that time, if the ambassador can find that. But Ms. Wewell, it was also, I believe that it might be in your packet with this as well, because we submitted this for file, which would have shown you the picture. So I don't know if the ambassador can get to that particular one, if that's possible.
Ms. Wewell, I can also describe to you, because you can locate it on Google Earth, but it's the existing, there's an existing curb cut, and it appears that it's currently holding one car space.
Okay, yeah, because I mean, the examples you submitted, I don't see the same configuration that places parking in front of the dwelling, so I'm a little stuck. But.
No, the reason why I'm doing that, those were submitted just to demonstrate that there are, as you can see, there are some that are so-called, depending upon where you see the front door, but nonetheless, no, there aren't. We were just showing that there are curb cuts that exist here. And what we've demonstrated is that this is a curb cut that existed prior to 1984, recognized by the city. And the only effort here is to do a realignment, not to create a new curb cut, and for the reasons that were mentioned, both for elderly persons who might be visiting, plus for the safety of the applicant's wife, who is the applicant, who is a registered nurse, to just be able to provide an additional off-street parking space. So the only thing here is, I don't want to call it de minimis in terms of a realignment of the space, moving it from left, and it doesn't widen it either, Ms. Wheeler.
Is Mr. D'Amico available?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Can you weigh in?
Yes, Bob D'Amico, Boston Transportation Department. If I may preface my statement, it's good to hear from Mr. Feaster, a former chair of the DBA, a man who I love and have enormous respect for. That being said, again, it's the front yard parking that BTD cannot support, and both spaces are undersized, and the maneuverability would be very difficult the way the plans are shown. So with love and respect for Mr. Feaster, I have to go in opposition to this plan.
Thank you. And Mr. Hampton, can you also share your recommendation?
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, members of the board. Jeff Hampton, BPD. We too are in opposition to this. It's front yard parking. It's not something that we've ever supported, so we're on record for denial. Thank you.
Okay.
Just for clarification, Mr. Feaster, it is currently an existing condition of one space, correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Better about it.
Any other questions from the board? Okay, let's open it up to public testimony.
Yes, good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board. Keisha Santana with the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. And a butters meeting was held on May 3rd, where butters did express concerns in opposition towards the project due to the front yard parking and it setting a precedent for the neighborhood. And there were a total of 47 signatures collected from the butters in opposition to this project. And at this point, we would like to defer judgment to the board. Thank you.
Any other? Go ahead.
Good afternoon. My name is Isabel Slater, and I'm testifying on behalf of the Office of Councilor Louis Jean, and I would like to go on the record in support of the project.
Okay, thank you.
Lorraine? Lorraine, we can't hear you if you're talking. Okay. I'll go back to
Keep going.
Let me show you Maxine. And then Carl.
Hi, good morning. Thank you for taking my call. I do not support this, and actually clearly from their own.
Just say your name and address.
Oh, I'm sorry, Max Sense, and I'm at 19 Montrose Street. Based on their own renderings, you could see one part that has not been raised is if there is an emergency, how do you even access the house? How do public, the fire department, police department, how would they even access the front with their own renderings showing that the photos, the cars that are drawn are blocking even access to the doorway. And all the reasons that they continue to indicate are reasons to have additional space in the front are really not in conformance with the current neighborhood and really don't make any sense. So I do not support it.
Thank you. Lorraine, trying to get back.
Hi, can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am. Yep.
Hi, I am here my address is 85 Moreland Street, and I'm here today on behalf of the Roxbury Path Forward Neighborhood Association, and we support the abutters who attended the abutters meeting held by the city. And we always, anyone can look at it and see that there is a curb cut there already. But the issue is that the curb cut was not created by a process like this. The curb cut was just put in. And at this point, attempting to put two cars in the front yard, one car that would be all the way over to the side, because there are no setbacks between this property and the property next door. There's a firewall in between. And so we'd also like to just remind the board that the property is part of the Moreland Street Historic District, and it's located in the Neighborhood Design Overlay District. And these front yards, welcoming front porches, these are sort of the putting stone wall up front. These are all things that, really represent this district. And so Article 50 is opposed to front yard parking. The Roxbury Strategic Master Plan is there to reinforce the integrity of historic buildings and places in Roxbury. The abutters have clearly shown that they are against a change being made at this location. BTD has recommended denial to the board, as has the Boston Planning. So we would just ask that the board follow the zoning code that, requires that applicants demonstrate that there's a specific shape or topography that affects this property specifically, or they have to show that there's a substantial hardship, but no hardship has been shown in this case. And we would just ask that the board follow the zoning code. Thank you.
Stacy Compton, MAGA? And then Carl?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, hi. Thank you for allowing me to speak. In respect to, Mr. Feaster, I've known him for years. God bless the board, but I live around the corner and I have yet to see any pictures that shows what this actual project, that shows you, the board, and anyone on this call, what the front of the house actually looks like at the moment. I've been seeing pictures of, houses throughout the neighborhood, and it is nowhere in a resemblance of what this actual project would look like. So first, I would like to say that I'm totally against this project. Having two cars in front of this house, there is not a house in this whole neighborhood, and I'm new to Roxbury, but I have driven all over the place. There is not one house in this neighborhood that has any resemblance of having two cars right in front of the house. To bring up a good point. Ooh, sorry.
Okay, how many more raised hands are there?
3.
Okay, let's keep going. Just please briefly state your position and add new information. Thank you.
Carl?
Yes, good afternoon, Madam Chair and distinguished members. Everybody on the street's been having a problem.
What's your address, sir?
Oh, my address, I'm sorry, is 60 Winthrop Street. Right now, I am huddled with neighbors who are having a problem getting on earlier. So I would like to forfeit my time right now and give the abutter a chance to speak, please. Her name is Nadine Riggs. She is the one that is abutting the property. I will introduce Nadine right now. She'll go ahead and speak, please.
Hi, Madam, and the rest of the board. I am the direct abutter. My house is 43 Winthrop Street, and I share a firewall with 45. I just want to begin first, and I am totally opposed to this project 100%, but to make comments about what Mr. Feaster said. I've lived in my home for 13 years, and when I moved here, my neighbor next door was alive, and she had like a 1980 station wagon, one of those huge big ones, which she parked in the front yard. So there has never, ever been 2 cars parked in the front yard. And when I moved here, I didn't like it. I knew how she came about it, but I loved my home, I loved my community, and I just said, okay, this is what it is at the moment. So there's never been any parking there. Also, someone made the statement that they're going to park 2 small cars in the front yard. Currently, one owner drives a Range Rover, the other owner drives an SUV. Those 2 normal-sized cars would not fit into the front yard. The other thing is that Winthrop Street is 8 blocks long. It begins on the other side of Liverpool Avenue and runs straight out to Warren Street. There are over 74 residences on Winthrop Street. There's a combination of single-family homes, multi-family homes, and apartment buildings. No one is parking their car in the front yard. No one. Okay. Okay, and the other statement I just...
Okay. Do you want me to keep going? There's 3 additional raised hands.
Let's go to 2 more. I think we understand.
Okay. Jeff Williams?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, please be.
I'm Jeff Williams. I'm at 67 Whiting Street on the corner of Whiting and Winthrop Street. And I am opposed to this project. And just a comment about the availability of parking on the street. There are virtually no homes near this house without their own parking on their own property. And so there's no need to add additional parking spaces. It's completely straightforward to park directly in front of this house. There's space there all the time because there's a church next door which doesn't use, they have their own parking lot. So I just wanted to say that parking for home late is not a problem.
Thank you.
Bill?
Last one.
Jeff, go ahead.
No, I'm done.
Have no addition.
Okay. Are there any other questions from the board? Mr. Feaster, do you want to briefly respond?
Yes, and I don't know if Mr. Marini still has his hand up, he wants to respond. I just wanted to, the board has heard several things. I just would ask for the board to, there was a reference that were 47 signatures in opposition. I'd like to have that to become part of the record if that was referenced. The other things, there are statements made about what types of cars my clients own, et cetera. I just will submit to the board that information is just not accurate. And the last piece that I mentioned, or I did not mention, but there is residential parking restrictions on the street as I understand it. So that was one of the other reasons why there was a request to have it for when the elderly persons in the applicant's family would come to visit, they would be able to park there. So those were some of the reasons that were mentioned, and I would just simply ask the board to take those into consideration. As I mentioned, this isn't a creating of a new curb cut. It's one that's been recognized since prior to 1984, as the records that I presented do indicate. And if there are any, looking at what the property, there was a mention raised by Ms. Compton-Maga about the pictures. There are certainly, we have submitted pictures which show the property as it existed then, as well as when the applicants purchased it. So I ask for the board's consideration that this is a minor shift, and only requesting a shift to the property. Mr. Marini, I don't know if you have your hand up.
Yes,
Thank you.
yes.
Do you have anything to add?
If we could flip to the plan again, is that
If
possible?
you could just, if you can speak briefly, we're ready, I think we're ready to make a decision, so please.
Okay.
Don't belabor it.
There's a statement about the fact that it's not maneuverable. Well, presently, the existing conditions plan showed a wall to the right, and that only allows the one car to be positioned on the sidewalk. In this case, we'd be removing that section of wall if it's already removed. And there's a set of stairs here that's shifted back more into the footprint of the existing building. So there is maneuverability. There's a comment that wasn't maneuverable. There is maneuverability in the front, and there's basically the maneuverability of each car, because they're at an angle, to slide through the curb cut at an angle. That's why it's positioned this way. And basically the granite curbing in front prevents or allows for an overhang that's not so great that you don't have a pedestrian maneuverability in the front. I don't
All right.
I don't agree with that.
Thank you.
It's not maneuverable. I think it is.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments from the board?
Madam Chair, I just have a clarification that maybe Javier can help me. I recall that this project was in front of the subcommittee and it didn't have a majority consensus. Did that automatically make this project go into the deferral to the full committee?
I believe, yeah, it was a majority consensus.
It was 2-1, so
Yeah.
yes, it needed to come.
So any projects that go in front of the subcommittee where there's not a majority of a consensus?
It requires a consensus, not majority. It requires a consensus. So if all three do.
Right, but if you
not
don't
vote
have,
in either direction, it comes
if you
down.
don't have all three, it automatically
Correct.
goes to the full committee? Okay, thank you.
I think there was also a motion to defer it to the full board as well.
Well, after the first vote
Yes.
failed.
Yeah.
There was a motion for it to be deferred to the full board.
After the
Okay.
first motion failed, there was another motion before that.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
Can I have a motion?
Madam Chair, I'd like to put forth a motion for denial.
May I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Stenbridge?
Yes.
Ms. Better Brazza?
Yes.
Mr. Shepherd?
Yes.
Mr. Langham?
Yes.
Ms. Wewell?
Yes.
Mr. Valencia?
Yes.
The chair also votes yes, the motion carries.
Madam Chair, would the maker of the motion be willing to make that a denial without prejudice?
Javier?
That's up to the board. You guys already voted for denial, straight denial. So-
I don't think we're going to second guess ourselves.
Right, thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have case BOA 126-9163. The address of 734 to 742 Dudley Street. This is an Article 80 project. Is the applicant and or their representative present?
Yes, Mr. Sternbridge. Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board, Attorney John Fulgini on behalf of the applicant, Val DePina, who is the developer. With him also today is Artan Saduku, who is the architect, and Mai Lam, who is the developer representative. This proposal was originally, so this is 734 Dudley. The zoning in this neighborhood is neighborhood shopping, and the lot size is just about 7,000 square feet. This proposal was originally approved by the BPDA in June of 17 as a 5-story mixed-use building totaling approximately 26,357 square feet, comprised of ground floor retail space, and 3 of which would be, and there were 20 units together, 3 of which were designated IDP units. Now that was back in 2017 at a time when people were primarily using 13%, so at the time they exceeded at 15%. They went through the construction of the building. The building costs just exceeded, as we all know. Their bank came in saying that there's going to be a huge additional capital contribution or the funding would stop. And on January 23rd, due to that, the proponent filed a notice of project change with the BPDA to add a 6th floor comprised of 5 rental units, and also reduce the parking from 12 to 5 and added 25 bicycle spaces. As I stated, I know Mr. Langham brought up a very good question at the last hearing back on July 10th regarding the affordability. The affordability here initially, as I stated, was 15% at a time when everybody was doing 13%. When this went for the notice of project change, now keep in mind the building's already, as you can see on the screen, is already pretty much built. The BPDA and the developer worked out that they would give 20% of the change. So there was 5 additional units, one of which would be designated affordable as a 20% ratio. And that notice of project change was approved by the BPDA on August 13, 2023. And now we come before the board seeking your support. Also, I would like to point out that Mr. DePina, who is the developer on this, lives in this neighborhood. He has owned this property for 31 years. If you have any design questions, I believe the architect is on to answer any questions, but I really wanted to clear up the affordability confusion on my part more than anybody else's, because Mr. Langham brought up a very good question at the last hearing. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, any questions from the board? Hearing none, I'm going to go to public testimony. Is Mr. Valchik speaking?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. My name is Quinn Valsich. I'm a senior project manager at the BPDA. I know you all heard this at the last meeting, so I'll keep it brief. This project did come to us for a notice of project change in January 2023, as the proponent had mentioned, seeking to add some density after the originally approved project was no longer viable. They went through our article 80 review with a public meeting held on February 8th. That was well attended. We heard both support and opposition from the community. And the project ultimately received our board approval on April 13th, 2023, with support from several elected officials. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Joe McEachran, City Councilor Frank Baker's office would like to go on record in support.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Paul Sullivan, City Councilor Ross Michael Flaherty, on record support.
Ashley.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Ashley Gomes from the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. A lot of community process within. BPDA held multiple community meetings to address any questions or concerns regarding this project. Good support from the community on this project, just some concerns or questions on making. With that, we defer it to the board. Thank you.
Thank you.
BPDA? Like, when are you all set?
I'm sorry, I already spoke. Did you guys hear it?
Yes, we heard you. Yes.
Minor?
Jacob Madang, Ambassador, Madam Chair, members of the board, Minor Perez, Representative Carpenter, would like to program for support of the project.
No additional raised.
Okay. Any other questions from the board? Hearing none, may I have a motion?
I'd like to make a... Go ahead, I'm sorry. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
You go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Mr. Lang. Mr. Lang,
All right, I'd like to make a motion to approve this project.
Okay, may I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Stenbridge,
Yes.
Ms. Better-Brazza,
Yes, that's with BPDA design review, correct?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Sorry.
okay. Did I get you, Ms. Better-Brazza?
Yes, with BPDA design review.
Okay, Mr. Shepherd,
Yes.
Mr. Langham,
Yes.
Ms. Wewell,
Yes.
Mr. Valencia.
Yes.
Chair also votes yes, motion carries. Good luck.
Thank you, everyone.
Next, we have case BOA 1461276. The address 34 Vincent Street. Is the applicants and/or their representative present?
Yes, Madam Chair, members of the board, Attorney Ryan Spitz with Adams and Moranci, business address of 168 H Street, first floor, South Boston. Joining me today is the architect, Donnie Garrity from O'Sullivan Architects. By way of background, we deferred this case due to a BPDA recommendation of reducing lot coverage and having made that additional change since then. Also, there is a mention about a drive aisle being too narrow, but that was a pre-existing, it could not be altered. The reason why I'm mentioning this at the beginning of our presentation is that since our revised plans do reflect the recommendations of the BPDA, those plans that are the ones that you're seeing in front of the board today, but unfortunately, Mr. Hampton, upon my completion of my presentation, I'm sure he can testify that the reviewer from the BPDA has been on vacation and was unable to review, so they weren't able to provide a second recommendation based upon the revised drawings. So I just wanted to, make everybody aware of that while I go through the presentation. Again, this is a proposal to renovate an existing three-family and expand on the livable space by way of a vertical and a rear addition, as well as provide parking at grade for 3 vehicles utilizing it in an existing driveway. The 3 units will contain 3 beds, which will range from approximately 1,181 square feet to 671 square feet. Unit 1 located on the first and part of the second floor. Unit 2 located on 3rd floor. And Unit 3 located on the 4th floor, which, as you can see, has been recessed back to appear less visible from the street. We have the following violations. Off-street loading requirement, as we are proposing 3 spaces at 8 feet wide and 16 feet long. However, we're not required to provide parking with this proposal, but we understand the crisis that this neighborhood faces day to day with parking. Floor area ratio violation, proposal calls for a 2.08, and a 2.0 is what is compliant in this sub-district. Building height, 40 feet is compliant. This proposal calls for 42 feet, which is consistent with some of the recent approvals in the neighborhood. Further, 42 feet is the lowest the proposal could and still meet building code for minimum clear ceiling heights needed in this dwelling. The issue is the existing building is 2 feet above the sidewalk and therefore created over the height relief requested. If this was new construction, we possibly could meet the 40 feet, but since in addition, and we are married to the existing floor-to-floor heights and modest above the sidewalk height condition, hence the reason for the violation. Also, again, to worth noting, as you can see, that top floor has also been pulled back along Vinton Street to be, again, less visible from the street. We have a side yard violation. This is pre-existing. The existing structure, as you can see, has a 0-foot setback on the left-hand side, but we are compliant on the right-hand side. Rear yard, the proposal calls for a 10-foot setback, and due to the shallow lot exception, we would have to provide 15 feet would be compliant. Further, that existing condition, as you can see, is a structure that sets exactly on the property line. There is a garage. That structure is being demolished with this new proposal. And again, we're going to be providing a 10-foot setback in the rear. And the last violation that we have was an extension into the rear. As you can see from the addition, we're providing 1,000 square feet or more with that addition, so we do have another violation on that. And again, the lot coverage that we have here, based upon the BPDA's recommendation for the footprint of the building, is approximately 60% lot coverage. So at this point in time, I am going to hand it over to the board for any questions or comments.
Thank you, Mr. Spitz. Any questions from the board? Okay, Mr. Hampton, can you just confirm what Mr. Spitz said about the BPDA review?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. Jeff Hampton, BPDA. It is true that one of our planners is on vacation. It's also true that after the appellant had submitted new plans based on our recommendations, ISD didn't upload or approve those plans or stamp them so that we could use them until the day before we had sent the recommendations over to you for this hearing. So more of a timing issue more than anything. I will acknowledge, however, that the appellant has changed their plans based on our previous recommendations. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, may we have public testimony?
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board. I'm Anna White with the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. ONS hosted an abutters meeting for 34 Vinton Street on May 15th, 2023. 2 abutters attended the meeting. Appreciation was shown for the building's parking and for its design, but concerns were raised about the height. The proponent listened to feedback and made some changes before they presented the project to the Andrews Square Civic Association. They reduced the height and created a setback on the top floor. The Civic Association had a mixed response, and the vote of the membership was tied with half supporting and half opposing, so the association is not taking an official position. At this time, we'd like to defer judgment to the board. Thank you very much.
You.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board. Caitlin Stapleton from Councilor Murphy's office. The applicant completed a thorough community process and has worked with any direct abutters to resolve any issues. Because of this, the councilor would like to go on record in support. Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the board. Vanessa Wu from Council President Flynn's office. Council President Flynn would like to go on record in support based on a thorough community process. We understand that there was a mix of both support and concerns from the Andrew Square Civic Association, and Councilor Flynn respectfully requests the proponent to work closely with neighbors and a civic group on any quality of life issues during the construction phase. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Paul Sullivan for City Council at Large, Michael Flaherty. Acknowledging the communal effort that went into drafting Article 68, the council does feel that there are projects that do have merit. This being one of them. The councilor would also like to commend the proponent for listening to the community, making changes, and subsequently the councilor to go on record in support.
Thank you. Any other raised hands? Okay, with that, may I have a motion?
Madam Chair, I make a motion to approve with BPDA design review.
May I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Stenbridge?
Yes.
Ms. Better-Brazza?
Yes.
Mr. Shepherd?
Yes.
Mr. Langham?
Yes.
Ms. Wewell?
Yes.
Mr. Valencia?
Yes.
Chair also votes yes. Motion carries.
Thank you.
We'll now move on to case BOA 1285218 with the address of 94 Bar Street. Is the applicant and or their representative present?
Yes, good morning, Madam Chair. Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board. Richard Lins, 245 Sumner Street, East Boston, on behalf of the petitioner with respect to 94 Morris Street. We probably can jump right down to the neighborhood context, which is probably slide 3 would be a good place to start, just to give an idea. So this is located in the, what we consider the Paris Flats section of East Boston. As you can see, the context of this neighborhood, these are relatively shallow lots, and it is a 3F 2000 district. Most of the buildings here are 3 stories with the exposed foundation. There are a number of 2-story buildings as well. Our proposal would be for a 4-unit, 4-story building. However, we have modified the height based upon some of the comments that we did hear throughout the community process. So that even though this is 4 stories, I'm sure as the board is aware, our lower level is at grade to accommodate persons with accessibility needs, and that actually helps bring the building, the overall height of the building down. We probably can jump right to the rendering, which is slide 9, which would show the building in context, the proposed building in context with the surrounding neighborhoods. As you can see here, we do propose that 4th level set back a bit, but try to capture that 3-story rhythm for the main portion of the building at the lower level. Each of the units that we're proposing are all 2-bedroom. The upper level units, units 3 and 4, are bi-level units. So you would enter on the 3rd floor with internal stairwell to the upper level. We do propose a roof deck that will be accessed by hatch. So we're also requesting building code relief with respect to the head house. We know that's an important issue that we did hear from the neighborhood. We've also modified this plan to address some comments or concerns from our project to the left. And that was to eliminate one of the roof decks. So we're only showing one roof deck that would be accessible to unit 4, and we could probably jump down to the floor plans at slide 11 that would show the layout of the building itself. So you can see here we propose no living space in the basement, the 1st level at grade for unit 1. 2nd floor plan is a flat style unit, very similar to unit 1. And then the 3rd and 4th floor plan have back-to-back bi-level units for units 3 and 4. Showing the upper level roof deck for unit 4 only, and again in direct response to the comments that we did hear through the community process. We can jump down to the next slide. I believe we do have the elevations as well. So typically we do hear comments about heights of the building, and even though we do recognize that this is pretty much a 3-story, or precedent is pretty much 3 stories in the neighborhood, Those 3 stories are depression era triple deckers that do have that exposed foundation condition. So they do sit up at around 34 to 35 feet. The height limit for the district is 35 feet. I think Joy Street Design did a good job of trying to capture some of that height or respect some of that height in that immediate vicinity. So the height of our building to the roof rafters is 37.5 feet, which is usually, or just lower than the usual height for a 4-story building, which we typically see at 41 to 42 feet. And as you can see, the roof deck with the hatch access has no proposed head house access. With respect to the relief, we do require variance for the use. This is being proposed a multifamily dwelling. This is a 3F district, which does permit only up to 3 units. Our lot size is sufficient. We do have 2,125 square feet, which is consistent pretty much with the lots on Morris Street. Most of those are shallow lot conditions. We do have we do meet the minimum lot width and lot frontage as well. With respect to the side yards, we do set our building back on the right side at 5 feet. That does provide for sufficient access from the rear of the building to the front. We could actually move that to 3 feet. However, we did hear comments and concerns from the abutter to the right to try to increase that setback as much as possible. And again, the abutters to the left were mostly concerned with the roof deck being close to the front of the building, which we've eliminated. So we do set our building at the 0 lot line on the left side. However, we do have 5-foot setback on the right. Aggregate, the requirement would be a 5-foot setback total, 2.5 feet each side. However, we have shifted the building again to address those concerns by the direct abutters. The building to our left actually has its own setback of 3 feet, so there still is sufficient room to allow for those existing windows, as well as sufficient means of access from the back of the building to the front of their building. With respect to the floor area ratio, we are proposing a 1.6, which is in excess of the 1 that is allowed under Article 53. However, we would submit that that is relatively consistent with the density that you do see in this section of East Boston. With respect to parking, there is an existing curb cut on the site presently. This site is a separately assessed lot. It does not have any use associated with it for off-street parking. However, there is an existing curb cut that we will close in connection with this proposed project. So we would be adding essentially 1.5 parking spaces for public access along the street. I would also point out that this site is located within 500 yards to the entrance of the MBTA Blue Line airport station. So that is within a approximately 5-minute walk from the site as well. And this would offer an opportunity, a little bit more of an affordable opportunity for carless households that may choose to have that for this particular portion of the neighborhood. I will pause there, Madam Chair, and address any questions on the board.
Thank you. Questions from the board?
Yes, if you can please tell me what is the side yard requirement?
Sure. It's 2.5 feet.
2.5, okay. And so you're requesting a variance on one of them for 0 lot line. Okay, thank you.
Correct. Yeah, and I would point out, we do have 5-foot setback on the right. So I mean, we could, Ms. Better-Brazza, we could conceivably meet the 2.5-foot setback. We would probably be limited on the openings for the windows. So we do have openings on the right. We do have the 5-foot setback, but the left side would have no windows, as you can see in the elevation here.
And your neighbor saw your elevations, that they would see no windows?
That is correct, and that there was obviously a concern or question about privacy as well. That's, again, one of the reasons why we removed the roof deck to the front of the building.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions from the board? Hearing none, can I have public testimony?
Yes, Madam Chair, members of the board, Connor Newman with the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. At this time, the Mayor's Office would like to defer to the judgment of this board. Some background information on the community process. ONS hosted an abutters meeting on September 1st, 2021. We do not have a lot of information on that abutters meeting due to turnover we've had with personnel, but we know that the applicant was connected to the Maverick Central Neighborhood Association, and the association ultimately voted to support the application. With that, we'll defer to the board at this time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board. Sebastian Parr from Councilor Colette's office, and the council would like to show his support of this project based on Maverick Central Neighborhood Association's vote. Thank you.
No additional raised hands.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Paul Sullivan, City Council Elijah Michael Flaherty, Council to record support.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from the board? Hearing none, may I have a motion?
Madam Chair, I would like to make a motion for approval with BPDA review.
May I have a second?
Yes, we do.
I'm sorry, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Stenbridge,
Yes.
Ms. Better-Brazza,
Yes.
Mr. Shepherd,
Yes.
Mr. Langham,
Yes.
Ms. Wewell,
Yes.
Mr. Valencia.
Yes.
Chair also votes yes, motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Next, we have case B. Sorry, I apologize to 94 Morris Street. Which the companion case to that, case BOA 128-5217, with the same address of 94 Morris.
Oh, are we hearing it again, or should?
No, I'm just.
I apologize, Madam Chair, I've also taken minutes today, but we don't have to rehear this. If the board thinks they can just make a motion for approval for building federal if the board believes so.
Okay, because we just, yeah, okay, so anybody make a motion? Can I hear
Madam
a
Chair, I'd
motion?
like to put forward a motion of approval of a building code relief to allow for the roof hatch.
Okay, may I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Stenbridge,
Yes.
Ms. Better-Brazza,
Yes.
Mr. Shepherd,
Yes.
Mr. Langham,
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Wewell,
Yes.
Mr. Valencia.
Yes.
Chair also votes yes, motion carries.
Madam Chair, if I may, just, and I apologize if I'm not up to speed on the policy of the board on GCOD. I know this was also subject to GCOD as well. I'm just not sure if the board is still taking a separate vote for GCOD, or is that incorporated in the board's decision?
I'm sorry.
That would be incorporated, I believe, but I don't think GCOD was cited for the previous one.
Yeah.
But the BPDA did make a recommendation that the project should be reviewed by Boston Water and Sewer Commission due to its location in the groundwater conservation overlay district.
And we did, one of the reasons for the delay in getting this before the board was to get GCOD compliant. So we've provided that to the board and to ISD as well. I just didn't know, I wasn't sure of the board's procedure with respect to the vote, if there was a separate vote or if that's incorporated in the board's vote because of the violation.
And Madam Chair, Christian Simonelli, Boston Groundwater Trust, and we have both letters from the applicant.
Okay, great, thank you.
So I think we could put that in the motion too.
We could add that. I think we just missed that. Sorry about that. Well, we just have to vote again because we already voted. So
we can read that.
I'm sorry, Javier.
We can read that really quickly to the record and make it. So,
Okay.
Yeah, you want to read that first?
Read it again for case BOA 128-5217, the address of 94 Morris Street.
We can just make a quick motion.
Okay, let's have a motion on the GCOD.
Madam Chair, I'd like to put forward a motion for GCOD approval.
May I have a second?
Second.
Okay, Mr. Stenbridge,
Yes.
Ms. Better-Brazza,
Yes.
Mr. Shepherd,
Yes.
Mr. Langham,
Yes.
Ms. Wewell,
Yes.
Mr. Valencia.
Yes, sorry.
Okay, the chair also votes yes, the motion carries. All right, I think we're done with you now. Let's move on.
Thank you very much, I appreciate it.
Moving on, in case BOA 146-3031, the address of 171 Brooks Street. Is the applicant and/or their representative present?
Hi, is that Gabriel? I sent a request to unmute you.
Yes, I am here.
Go ahead.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the board. I am Gabriel Trisco of 171 Brook Street. I am seeking relief on a rear yard insufficient violation and roof structure restrictions. The first slide here shows the context of what I'm trying to do here. I'm not building a structure on the main roof, but rather on the lower roof, which it's basically my neighbor to the second unit below me. And that area has been that area has been used as a deck historically, and I just want to put some lumber, some composite down so I can step on it. Right now it's a rubber membrane, and that gets really hot. There's already railings. All I want to do is get that more presentable so I can use it.
Okay, understood. Any questions from the board? Hearing none, can I have public testimony?
Yes, Madam Chair, members of the board, Connor Newman with the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. This time, the Mayor's Office would like to defer to the judgment of this board. Some background information on the community process. ONS hosted a butters meeting on May 2nd of 2023. There were no butters that were in attendance. The applicant went on to meet with the Eagle Hill Civic Association first on May 31st, and then again on July 26th of 2023. The Civic Association voted to support the proposal with a vote of 12 in favor and 1 against. Feedback was overall positive from the community. At this time, we'll defer to the board. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board. Sebastian Parra for Councilor Coleta's office. And the council would like to show his support for this project as well, based on the community outreach and the support from the community. Thank you.
You have no raised hands.
Okay. With that, may I have a motion?
Chair,
Go ahead.
I'll make a motion to approve.
May I have a second? Okay, Mr. Stenbridge,
Yes.
Ms. Better Brazza,
Yes.
Mr. Shepherd,
Yes.
Mr. Langham,
Yes.
Ms. Wewell,
Yes.
Mr. Valencia.
Yes.
Chair also votes yes. Motion carries. I know, Javier, we need another break. See you all at 1.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay.
Thank you.
Recording stopped.
Madam Chair, if you're there.
Yes, I am.
Let's together.
Okay, do I need to roll call again?
Yes, I think that.
Okay, Mr. Stenbridge,
Here.
Ms. Better-Brazza,
Here.
Mr. Shepherd,
Present.
Mr. Langham,
Here.
Ms. Wewell,
Here.
Mr. Valencia.
Here.
Okay, President accounted for. Mr. Stenbridge, floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I will ask if we have any requests for withdrawals or deferrals at this point for the 1 p.m. hearings.
Yes, Mr. Stenbridge, me again, Richard Lins for 24 Geneva, last on the list, I believe.
Yes.
So that would be for case BOA 1386283, the address of 24 Geneva Street. Could you explain, Mr. Lynn?
Sure. For the record, Madam Chair, members of the board, Richard Lins, 245 Sumner Street, East Boston, on behalf of the petitioner. Madam Chair, this was originally proposed, I believe is still currently before the board, as a five-story, 6-unit building. We have made modifications based upon the comments that we did hear through the community process, then reduced to a 4-story building, 5 units. I don't believe the BPDA has the most up-to-date set of plans for its recommendation, but I do believe we should have that, the proper plans before the board before we proceed, because we do believe that that is beneficial to the applicant's presentation. So we're going to request a very brief deferral, if possible, to make sure those plans are correctly before the board and BPDA.
Okay, great. Javier?
I believe I would recommend October 17th, mainly to give, planned update.
Okay.
Yeah, and I appreciate you giving me the 26th and the other one, so the 17th is fine. Thank you.
Thank you. May I have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion for deferral to October 17th.
May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Mr. Stenbridge?
Yes.
Ms. Better-Brazza?
Yes.
Mr. Shepherd?
Yes.
Mr. Langham?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Ms. Wewell?
Yes.
Mr. Valencia?
Yes.
Chair also votes yes. Motion carries. See you then.
Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Any further requests for withdrawal or?
Yes, that was a deferral.
Are you Mr. Pagini? No.
Oh, I'm sorry, Madam Chair, no.
Okay.
Pete Romero for 171 Corey. We are requesting a deferral as well.
Okay.
So that would be for case BOA 1242680 with the address of 171 Corey Road North. I'm sorry, Corey Road. Would you explain?
Certainly. This matter's had an extensive multi-year community process. As a result, the project has been reduced in size and parking has been added. Plans we submitted to ISD as opposed to submitting them in narrative form. We are going to submit that today and therefore request the deferral so ISD can review the revised plans.
Okay, Mr. Javier?
Yeah, I would say similar day of October 17th.
Okay, that's getting full. May I have a motion?
Motion to defer until October 17th.
May I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Stenbridge?
Yes.
Ms. Better-Brazza?
Yes.
Mr. Shepherd?
Yes.
Mr. Langham?
Yes.
Ms. Wewell?
Yes.
Mr. Valencia?
Yes.
Chair also votes yes. Motion carries. See you then.
Next, we have case BOA 1490218. The address of 496 to 500 Talbot Ave. This is an Article 80 project. Applicants and/or their representative present.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Sternberg. Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board. Attorney John Pulgini on behalf of the applicant. I'm joined today by James Baker of 500 Talbot LLC and Mike Delafave from Rhodey Architecture. By way of background, the applicant submitted a building permit application with ISD on May 21st, 2019 for the construction of a mixed-use building, approximately 49,500 gross square feet of development with a total of 40 residential units, 2 ground floor retail spaces, and 23 off-street parking spaces. It went through a full Article 80 process and was approved by the BPDA board on November 15, 2008, and was approved by this board on July 30th, 2019. At the time of this approval, the IDP contribution was 13% or 5 units. The applicant filed a notice of project change with the BPDA on April 14, 2022. The requested change was to change the occupancy of the building from 40 to 42 residential units. The additional units were completed without changing the dimension of the building. It was accomplished by reconfiguring the inside of the building. No exterior changes will be made. Additionally, this proposed change also increases the affordability units from 5 to 17. This is an affordability rate of over 40% and was done with the assistance of MHFA financing, which also makes the IDP requirement exempt. In addition to the increased IDP, the original proposal calls for many pedestrian improvements to the public domain. Specifically, the proposed project will result in new pedestrian and retail activity along Talbot Ave, and improvements to pedestrians realm, including new trees, new sidewalks, and increased open space. We do have the architect on. It's essentially the same project that was approved previous, as these 2 changes of the units are interior to the building.
So let's pause and see if there are questions then, before we do that.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Any questions or concerns? Do folks feel they need to go through the renderings?
Same project?
Exactly. Okay, so I think we're saving you that piece, Mr. Pogini. Can we take public testimony?
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the board. Caitlin Stapleton from Councilor Murphy's office. The applicant completed a thorough community process and has support from abutters. Because of this, the council would like to go on record in support. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other raised hands?
Madam Chair, members of the board, Connor Newman with the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. The Mayor's Office would like to defer to the judgment of this board at this time. Previously, this went through an extensive BPDA process, and they circled back to the community about these changes being proposed. We're unaware of any concerns at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone from BPDA who wants to weigh in?
Madam Chair, members of the board, Paul Sullivan, City Council Elijah Michael Flaherty, Council to recommend support.
Mr. Carter?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Nick Carter, Senior Project Manager with BPDA. I was the project manager for the most recent notice of project change. I can't speak to the previous process. However, I can say that when we took this through this process, it received good community support, especially in regards to changes in the increase to its IDP units, and it was approved, as the applicant mentioned, on the 14th back in 2022.
Thank you. Any other raised hands, Jessica?
No, ma'am.
Okay, with that, may I have a motion?
Madam Chair, I'd like to put forward a motion of approval.
May I have a second?
Second.
Second.
Mr. Stenbridge?
Yes.
Mr. Shepherd?
Yes.
Mr. Langham?
Yes.
Ms. Wewell?
Yes.
Mr. Valencia?
I'm very pleased to see the developers increasing the number of affordable homes, so I vote yes.
I echo those sentiments, and the chair votes yes. Motion carries.
And you forgot me, Madam Chair.
Oh,
I say yes.
I'm so sorry.
It's okay. Better said
I'm so sorry. I'm like glossing over these names. All right, well, thank you.
Thank you.
With that, motion carries.
Moving on to the next case, which is BOA 1455486, with the address of 285 Washington Street. Is the applicant and or their representative present?
Do we have Stephanie Rodriguez or someone else for this? See any raised hands, Jessica? Okay, I'll suggest we move on and come back to it.
I saw one race, Madam Chair.
Oh, you did? Okay. Can you tell Jessica their name?
Yeah, just the hand low.
So in the meantime, we'll move on and come back.
Yeah, I believe we can. Yeah.
Next, we have case BOA 1487838 with the address of 509 East 5th Street. Mr. Morency or a representative available?
Yes, President Mr. Stembridge. Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board. My name is George Morency. I'm an attorney with business address of 350 West Broadway in South Boston. Madam Chair, members of the board, my client in this matter is Greg Donovan. This new four-unit building was approved by the board in April of 2019. It has not commenced construction yet. It was pre-COVID. However, as my client was preparing to prepare for construction, it came to light that the means of accessing what was originally proposed as a rear garage for motor vehicle parking is not, in fact, accessible, making parking in the rear of the building possible. By way of explanation, the building would have achieved access to the garage in the rear by means of an easement through the garage of an abutting property. 511 East 5th Street is an L-shaped building, which is immediately to the left of and to the rear of 509 East 5th Street. The owner of that building, which is a multifamily, had granted my client an easement to enter by way of I Street, which is a side street off 5th Street, enter the site by way of I Street, go through the building's garage, exit the building's garage into the rear of this garage. The short version is that it was discovered that owing to a grade change, that's not going to be possible. It would require modifications to the grade within the existing building garage in the rear, which can't be done. It's not simply a matter of changing the grade in the rear of my client's property. The four spaces that were originally approved by the board in 2019 were quite small. It didn't fit well at the rear, and this is important because the project already received a variance for insufficient off-street parking. It was probably more like 2 spaces in terms of what would actually work under as-built conditions. My client went back to ISD, tried to simply eliminate the rear garage parking, change it to storage for the 4 units as well as a bike room. ISD issued a new refusal letter citing a single violation of insufficient off-street parking, for which variance is requested today. With that, I'll pause and take any questions that members may have.
Thank you, Mr. Morency. Any questions from the board? Okay, hearing none, can I have public testimony?
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board. I'm Anna White with the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. ONS hosted an abutters meeting for 509 East 5th on June 26, 2023. 2 abutters attended and the proponent answered all questions. ONS is unaware of any concerns. At this time, we'd like to defer judgment to the board. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I have no additional raised hands.
Okay, with that, may I have a motion?
Madam Chair, I'd like to put forward a motion of approval.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Stembridge?
Yes.
Ms. Benabraza?
Yes.
Mr. Shepherd?
Yes.
Mr. Langham?
Yes.
Ms. Wewell?
Yes.
Mr. Valencia?
Yes.
Chair also votes yes, motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay, I see 285 Washington is with us.
So at that, we turn to case BOA 1455486. The address of 285 Washington Street. It's the applicant.
Yes.
We've heard from the applicant. We will hear from the applicant and the representative.
Good afternoon. I'm Nandaraj Krishna Kumar. The 285 Washington Street in Dorchester is a neighborhood convenience store gas station. When I bought it in 2011, this area used to be a takeout restaurant, but during my renovation, I changed to a storage area. I didn't use it. But now I am running the convenience store. I need more space for the coffee to offer multiple choices for the neighborhood. So I am asking for a relief so that I can open up a coffee serving area at this side of the store.
Thank you. Any questions from the board? Hearing none, can I have public testimony?
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board. Ashley Brunson, Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. Some background information: our office did hold an abutters meeting on May 31st. About 5 abutters in attendance. Everybody seemed in support. The applicant also presented to the area civic, Marlboro Harvard Washington Neighborhood Association, which they voiced their support in addition. With that, we defer to the board. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other raised hands?
Yes, Madam Chair. It's Aya from Council Worrell's office. In regards to 285 Washington Street, the abutting civic Mount Boning gave their support, and with no letters of opposition received, the council would also like to provide his support for this project.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Madam Chair, members of the board, Paul Sullivan, City Council Elijah Michael Flaherty, Council Director of Support.
I have no additional raised hands.
Okay, with that, may I have a motion?
Madam Chair, I'd like to put forth a motion of approval.
May I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Stenbridge?
Yes.
Ms. Barbarazza?
Yes.
Mr. Shepherd?
Yes.
Mr. Langham?
Yes.
Ms. Wewell?
Yes.
Mr. Valencia?
Yes.
Chair also votes yes. Motion carries. Good luck, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, last but not least.
That one would be case BOA 1489026. The address is 24 Dry Dock Avenue. This is also an Article 80 project. The applicants and the one you represent present.
Thank you, Mr. Stenbridge. Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board, Attorney John Fulgini on behalf of the applicant, Cronin 24 Dry Dock LLC. With me this afternoon is Jim Green, who's co-counsel on this proposal, TJ Stokes from SGA Architects, and Bruce Zaniol, who's the CFO of Boston Ship Repair. Just quickly, 24 Dry Dock is located in the Ray Flynn Marine Park. The site area is 60,776 square feet. Currently, there's an existing 3-story vacant building on this space. The project site is located at 24 Dry Dock Ave in the Ray Flynn Marine Industrial Park at the corner of Tide and Dry Dock Avenue. Cronin Dry Dock LLC is proposing the redevelopment of this site with a new 8-story building, which will be approximately 140 feet and contain approximately 375 gross square feet. There will be 70 below-grade parking space. This proposal came as a result of an RFP issued by the BPDA EDIC, and Cronin was designated developer. The proposed project will consist of the following uses: marine industrial use, life science, research and development use, supportive uses including industrial office space for Boston Ship Repair, training classrooms for Boston Ship Repair, ground floor restaurant and lounge counter with the primary purpose of serving Boston Ship Repair employees at Dry Dock Number 3, and other accessible accessory uses serving the building. And additionally, there'll be space for nonprofits, for classrooms and other things. In addition to the life science and research and development uses in the building, the proposed project ensures the crucial function of Boston Ship Repair to continue to thrive in the maritime industrial park, preserving the ship repair industry for future generations. The RFP was issued to develop this site and provide financial assistance to Boston Ship Repair. As Boston Ship Repair is the only union ship repair dry dock in the Eastern Seaboard and the Gulf, and there is a risk of closing, costing hundreds of good union jobs, as well as preserving the mission of the Marines Park. Additionally, on this call, there will be other nonprofits who will speak to how this proposal helps their mission. And I would just point out that this proposal was approved, as Mr. Stenbridge said, was approved by the BPDA this past October. At this point, I'll turn it over to TJ Stokes from SJ Architects to walk through the proposal, and after that, Bruce Zaniol, CFO of Boston Ship Repair, would like to speak. But thank you for having us here.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board for their time today. If we could go to the open space plans, A-006 real quick, it's page 10 of this document. Thank you. As John had said, this is 24 Dry Dock. It's about a 237,000 square foot proposal. It's 8 stories of life science levels with 1 level of parking and supported by 2 mechanical levels. The site improvements that you see on this plan include repairing and really providing a little just improvements to the Tide Street Park that's on the western portion of the dry dock here, including some repairs to the viewing platform, which is centered on the dry dock there. And really going from that into this plaza space that's on the western side of our building here that's raised for entry into our ground level, as well as providing seating, plantings, and blue bikes. The building is main entrance is centered on Dry Dock Ave in the middle of the building at the plan south here. And the ground floor has really been designed as really a hub for marine industrial use that supports the dry dock through BSR, Boston Ship Repair office space, classrooms for trade workers, as well as a lunch counter space on the planned left portion of the ground floor for workers in the area. The entire building has been raised 4 feet off of grade, and that's really in efforts to create resiliency. All critical systems within the building are raised at least a foot off of that, many of which have been located on the roof of the building. And the project is currently pursuing LEED Gold and will be mostly electrified down to freezing temperatures. And was there some renderings that we had included in this, or we could go to use the elevations as well as fine?
There should be some elevation, colored elevations toward the tail end of this presentation.
Okay, is that all the way down at the bottom, I believe? I'm happy to use these as well. So the facade is built of a playful mix of metals, utilizing an industrial aesthetic, just kind of really drawing from the inspiration of the area and its history. And what's not shown in these elevations that's visible in the renderings is we've exposed cross bracing behind the glass at the building's main entry, as well as the west side of the building's front as well, to embrace that idea. On the north side of the building, there's 2 balconies, one on the west side and one on the east side, that are located on each of the tenant levels. Again, just reinforcing that concept of this building's relationship to the dry dock and having views of all the great work that goes on there. And with that, I'll hand it over for any comments.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
If we could, Jessica Thomas, Bruce Zaniol, he's the CFO of Boston Ship Repair. I think he believes he's on this call.
Yep.
What's the name? I'm sorry, what's his name? He's here.
He's on.
Hi guys, it's Bruce Zaniol. I'm the CFO of Boston Ship Repair now for over 14 years. I've been at the shipyard, and I can attest as the challenges running a shipyard in the Northeast just continue to grow. like John mentioned, we're the only unionized shipyard that compete in our large vessel repair market. So our biggest two challenges are our labor, being the only union yard, and then our facilities. Our facility is over 100 years old, and many of the critical components and are original. The workshops are original. Our union workforce is highly skilled and specialized, working on ships, but they're aging out. They're just getting older. So we desperately need to create a consistent pipeline of new workers to transfer that knowledge. And that's our goal, and that's the goal that this project's supporting, is to create generational union shipyard jobs. And that takes a significant investment, which didn't exist prior to our current ownership, and a long-term outlook. So a little background on the shipyard. We primarily, we work on Navy support vessels. So these are the non-combatant vessels that support the combat vessels. So these vessels transport fuel, tanks, ammunition, soldiers all over the world, wherever they're needed. So we're an integral part of the national security and readiness of the Navy. We only work on big, large ships. We only have one dry dock, and these are ships that are over 750 feet in length, so they're enormous. And there's only, we're one of only 5 docks on the whole East of Gulf Coast that can work on these large shipyards. The difficulty is we're the only union yard. All the competition that we have are mainly southern yards, and they're all non-union. So we don't compete against any local or union facilities. So this puts that as an enormous disadvantage. A disadvantage because we believe in paying our people fair wages and good benefits, unlike the non-union competition we have to go against. So these other facilities, these other shipyards have greater facilities, better weather, and cheaper workforces. So that's why this project is so critical to us. Without it, we wouldn't have this investment to modernize our facility, which is going to result in more capabilities for us. That means more stuff that Boston Ship Repair can do in-house and grow our union jobs. Our union is in full support of this project. Actually, in all the years I've been at the shipyard, I don't think I've ever seen the union in ownership more in lockstep and united on an issue like this, which is ultimately collectively growing our jobs. So our unions consist of welders, machinists, electricians, riggers, carpenters, and more than half of our union are men and women of color. And we expect our job growth to continue with that same demographic. So these are great 6-figure blue-collar jobs right in Boston. We have an active partnership with the Navy. They have a talent pipeline program, which has been built to build up the industrial base workforce, specifically here in New England, and we're at the center of that. The goal of this program is to focus on distressed areas in communities of color. So what we've learned in this program is that Boston Ship Repair's job creation plan accomplishes both of those goals. And we're the only company in Boston positioned to do that today. So it's critical to have our local workers have the skill and knowledge to fix our warships. The skill is diminishing. Right now, the Navy recognizes that, and that's why they created this talent pipeline program. And they've asked employers to do their part in growing this industrial workforce base. And this project and this investment does just that. It allows Boston Ship Repair to do that. So thank you for the opportunity to talk about our shipyard.
Thank you. Any questions from the board?
Yeah, I have two. I have two. One of my questions is, I heard him saying like women in the trades and minorities. Who's going to monitor to make sure that those people are on the job? And my second question is this job going to be 100% union?
Yeah, so I can answer the second question, Mr. Langham. This is, JMA is the developer on this proposal. Okay. So it's a union development. It's a partnership with Related Beal, a joint venture. Okay. So this is a union build. And I think when we get on sooner, you're going to hear, there'll be some calls that will call in that will address your first question much better than I could. that will address getting people to the seaport, because I think that is, it's kind of ironic that you brought that up, because that's a really important piece of this development. So I'm glad you asked that question. But that will be answered. Thank you.
Any other questions from the board?
Yes, very quickly, if you can tell us more about the community benefits that the project is providing to the city, including the linkage contribution.
Yeah, so I mean, outside of what Bruce just stated with the Boston ship repair and helping those people keep their jobs, we're providing many, the building itself contains space for the use by 3 nonprofits: English for New Bostonians, Save the Harbor, Save the Bay, and the Ron Burton Training Village. BSR, who we just spoke, will partner with Madison Park School to provide job opportunities as well as internships and mentorships. As part of this program, BSR will partner with the U.S. Navy Pipeline Jobs Program. The dry dock we're doing elevated viewing stand so that people can, on their lunch hour, go and see how these buildings are built and how they're repaired. They have like a nice place in a green space where they can do that. We're improving pedestrian improvements, public realm improvements, sidewalks, landscaping, street lighting. And when we get into over $1 million, you asked the question about linkage, Mr. Valencia. One more thing I just want to say, this will create a shuttle bus from Nubian Square to the seaport, greatly improving access for the residents of Roxbury to get to the seaport. And over 1 million in housing linkage and over 200,000 in job linkage will be part of this project. So hopefully that answered your question.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, let's open it up to testimony, public testimony.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board. I'm Anna White with the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. 24 Dry Dock was a BPDA project and it went through their community process. ONS is unaware of any concerns at this time and we'd like to defer judgment to the board. Thank you very much.
Hello, this is Tavares Burton, Madam Chairperson. I'm the founder of an organization called Sweet to Ivy, which focuses on closing the wealth and income disparity in Boston. We work with NAACP and a lot of organizations. I just wanted to, reiterate our support for the program, for all of the public benefits that were referenced. We focus on getting young people access to opportunity, and the shipyard provides a wealth of opportunity for our young people to walk into 6-figure jobs, get training, and really make an impact on their local community. So thank you for the opportunity to express our support.
Thank you.
Minor?
Thank you, Madam Ambassador. Madam Chair, members of the board, Minor Perez, representing the Carpenters Union. On behalf of hundreds of union carpenters and labor workers of the city of Boston, want to go enthusiastically on the support of this project.
And a lot of public officials I see.
Yeah.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Paul Sullivan, City Council at Large, Michael Flaherty. The council would like to go on record in support. We actually wrote a support letter when the project was at the BPDA some months back. This project will further the goal of rehabbing, modernizing the Great Plain Marine Industrial Park. The 2 anchor tenants on this project will foster those goals as well as the resiliency of the park itself. That being said, the council would like to go on record in support.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the board. Vanessa Wu from Council President Flynn's office. Council President Flynn would like to go on record in support based on a thorough community process, and he also submitted a support letter to the board. The continued support and investment in the Mayor Ray Flynn Marine Park infrastructure improvements are essential to the preservation and growth of local maritime industrial businesses. The success of this project is integral in ensuring consistent and successful operations for the industrial and water-dependent users of the Ray Flynn Marine Park. The operations of both Boston Ship Repair and Life Sciences and Research and Development will provide hundreds of well-paying careers to neighbors in South Boston, across the city, and help improve Boston's economic vitality. It is critically important that as the city grows and changes, the regular operations at the Mayor Ray Flynn Marine Park continue to be successful.
Thank you.
Isabel? Madam Chair, members of the board, my name is Isabel Slater and I'm testifying on behalf of the Office of Councilor Lee Jen, and I would like to go on record in support. Thank you. Karen?
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the board. Karen Zirkle from Representative David Beal's office. The rep would like to go on record in support of this project because it will help the marine industrial economy while creating economic opportunities for residents. Thank you.
Do we have everyone? If I'm missing anyone, please jump on the other panelist side. Otherwise, I have.
Is someone from BPDA, Mr. Polanco?
Yep, thank you so much. Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board. My name is Daniel Polanco, Project Manager at BPDA. Project located at 24 Drydock Avenue under Article A, large review, project review process review on October 9th, 2020. The proponent filed a letter of intent with the BPDA, and on February 16th, 2021, the Impact Advisory Group was assembled to assist the BPDA with Article A review process and the proposed project based on nominations received from our elected officials who oversee the area. And an expanded project notification form was filed by the BPDA on March 12, 2021, the submission of which initiated a large prior review process for the proposed project and public comment period, which concluded on May 7th, 2021. Boston Ship Repair is central to the Marine Park Master Plan, which enabled a new mixed-use development to take place in the Raymond Flynn Marine Park under Chapter 91. The project received BPDA board approval on October 13th, 2022. Thank you for your time and consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other raised hands?
I think we're all set. Thank you.
Okay, any other, I'm sorry?
Sorry, hi, Kathy Lafferty, South Boston community resident and executive director of the South Boston Neighborhood Health. I just wanted to take a minute to speak about our support for this project. I know that Mr. Cronin and his partners are responsible business owners. They've been generous and engaged in our community. They've been community partners for a long time within the nonprofit sector of South Boston. They hire from within the community. They pay well and they're good to their employees. But as far as the project is concerned, we also think that, maintaining the ship repair business, offering life sciences and research space and the training center all provide great community benefits to our residents. They create lifelong employment opportunities as well. Beyond that, this project also supports other community benefits that weren't spoken about today, namely the South Boston Neighborhood Houses Diaper Depot, which is a project that grew out of the pandemic and provides diapers to thousands of diapers and baby wipes to thousands of families throughout South Boston and the wider community. And this is something that the ship repair business and Mr. Cronin and his partners have supported for over 1.5 years now. And it's critical to the families living in South Boston. So we just wanted to, provide our support and speak on behalf of this project.
Thank you. Any other raised hands? Any final questions from board members?
I just have a question regarding the life science and R&D. Do we know the tenants there? Is it related to marine science? I would imagine it's a huge percentage of your square footage. So I'm just curious if you can just unpack what type of R&D and life science you're catering to.
That's a good question, Ms. Baratz. I think Michael Knievi, who's the COO of Cronin, is on this call, and he could probably speak to that, better. And I believe he is a panelist.
Thank you, Madam Chair and esteemed board members. Michael Knievi, COO for Cronin. The whole first floor of this building will be for Boston Ship Repair purposes. So the entire bottom floor will be for them, and then the rest of the building will be life science. We don't have a client yet for that, but and I think Bruce Daniel spoke to this, that this was first put out by the BPDA to help resurrect Boston Ship Repair. So the main function of what's happening here, one of the main functions is support for Boston Ship Repair from that first floor space.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any other last questions? With that, may I have a motion?
Madam Chair, I'd like to put forth a motion of approval.
May I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Stenbridge,
Yes.
Ms. Bear-Brazza,
Yes.
Mr. Shepherd,
Yes.
Mr. Langham,
Yes, ma'am.
you, Ms. Wewell,
Yes.
Mr. Valencia.
Yes.
Chair votes yes, motion carries. Good luck, guys.
Thank you, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
All right. Okay. How'd we do? Sorry for missing over people's names. I don't know, they're right in front of me, but.
We did great.
We did very well.
141.
Thank you.
Recording stopped.
Wonderful job.
With 50 minutes of break, so no complaints.
Madam Chair, it seems like we have like a quorum. We talked about putting ourselves on an agenda in terms of cases. Is that happening now or?
That's open
have you-
session.
Okay, that is great. Okay.
You should start because it sounded like you had specific comments.
Well, I just thought that it would be important to set a maximum in terms of cases that are in front of me, and then just in terms of comparison with what we saw today versus the last Tuesday hearing, if we can also set potentially a maximum, if possible, on the Article 80 small and large project reviews. So for example, today we saw 3, is that possible to find a way to not overextend ourselves in terms of the hearing time?
Board Member Haynes, this is Javier. So with today, we followed the previous, I think starting since March 29th or February 28th, I think, to just limit 30 cases per hearing. Today, as you noticed, there was a lot of deferrals and withdrawals.
Yes.
So those got reduced. And the number of Article 80s that were approved were, I think, only limited to 2. So we are consistently doing 30 cases per hearing. Now, it fluctuates per hearing on how many actually get deferred, right?
But I think it's also the complexity of the cases. So we had more complex kind of hearings, this session before. Is it possible to, so there's 2 things. Is it possible to say the majority has been that we've been going over 2 o'clock, let's say. So if today is an anomaly, can we set those cases to 25, potentially 3 Article 80 cases? That's kind of a proposal, and what that would, what in terms of deferrals, there's something that I recall, how can we limit the amount of deferrals? Because what I see that tends to happen is because the BPDA recommendations are public knowledge, and let's say potentially it's not favorable for a case, there can be kind of a deferral. So I think what we're seeing is really great feedback of recommendations from BPDA, and the public is having access to it. So I think there's a couple of things that affect the time and amount of cases that we hear and the amount of deferral.
So I'm just going to weigh in also and just say that, every time we have a hearing and there are issues, they are brought back to the powers that be, and I think they are constantly trying to. This is an iterative process, and obviously things need to be posted, and so changes probably are slower than we would like, but some of those feedback have to do with, for example, the 8 BPDA Article 80 cases we had last time, and how can the staff adjust the agenda if that's going to be the case, or limit or adjust, understand that those are going to be a little bit more complicated. But as folks can see, something as simple as a curb cut seems to take longer than an Article 80 project. So I think we need to be cognizant that we ourselves as board members should also focus on the questions associated with violations, and ourselves try to help move our pieces along. So I think all of us need to participate in this and help. As I tried today, we did not need to rehear all of the architectural renderings because this was, the last BPDA case before this one was already approved and there were no changes, right? So I think all of us can play a role in this. That's all I have to say.
Madam Chair, at the same time, you can see some projects have 10, 15, 20 slides, right? So can we provide some directions to the people presenting that they have to focus on something or not?
Wonderful, Mr. Valencia. I have shared that feedback many times already. and so I won't air here the feedback I've gotten, but that has been raised as feedback already. And I can comment on it.
I think the issues are, Mr. Valencia, is for someone who's reviewing the plans, more information is helpful. But I think what would help is knowing if we just have 25 cases, because of the majority has always been 30, and we know that it's running more than after 2 o'clock, because I think this board is very conscientious of making sure everyone is heard. And those delays is to acknowledge those voices. Then I would say a way forward is to say, let's just limit to 25 cases.
I'll step in real quickly. I think other individuals at ISD have said there is really no magic number, right? While 25 cases may sound good, if there's another Article 80 or 4 Article 80s to say that hypothesis or example of it, that it could still go beyond 2 p.m. if there's multiple people testifying.
So I just want to make sure other board members weigh in as well. And again, to be mindful of people's time, we did finish early. And so if you can provide your feedback, and then I think Javier can take it back. And I'm guessing that we'll repeat things that other people have said or thought. So I think this is good for them to hear again from others as well.
I think 25 may be a bit low. I think 30, depending on possible limiting BPDA cases, auto-related cases, good. There's a lot on people's plates out there. There's a lot who want to get in here and have been waiting for years to do that. So, if we can stick to pretty much, as some of us are still learning, in terms of the violations that we're going up against and focus on those, hopefully we can move forward fast on that. That's pretty, again, I can't get by, in terms of some of these cases take 5, 10, 12 years. We ought to be able to accommodate those folks. And not to mention those who are right behind the truck coming.
Thank you. Can I also suggest just what I've noticed is we seem to, where we're able to break early is always earlier on, and then we end up being stacked later. So maybe it's putting less cases at the 1 p.m. also, and kind of putting a couple more early on so that we don't end up with 40-minute breaks. Because yes, there were several deferrals from the 9:30s, but even if those were heard, we still would have had to stop because of the time. I don't think those would have, led us to whatever time it was, 11. So I think also just moving some forward might help, and then that way, there might be an opportunity to end earlier if there are a little bit less cases at the end.
If we have all day.
Can I say something?
Yes.
I just want to say today, myself, I thought the day went pretty well. I mean, I don't know how many cases that we exactly had, but I was very impressed that everything went somewhat smooth today.
Thanks, Alan.
I think it went well, but at the same time, it's the luck of the draw. It was the deferrals, it was some easier decisions, not as many people weighing in from the community. Like, it was the perfect storm in a good way today. But my question would be, 2 weeks ago, was that 30 as well?
Yes, it was at 30.
See, so there's no rhyme or reason.
And so one of the things I want to comment on is, one thing is to review them today. The other is the amount of work a plan reviewer needs to review those actual drawings. So when I advocate for 25 cases, I'm advocating for anyone that is thoroughly reviewing those plans. So you should also consider that. And I think we were extremely lucky that we had the deferrals, and I actually had preview to which cases were deferral, and it was me just waiving those to not actually review those plans.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
go ahead, Katie.
No, I was just gonna say, I think it's such a balancing act with all the noticing and advertising that needs to happen, but I also think Hansi has a lot of work as the board architect without a legitimate backup. I know I've backed up in some meetings, but it's a lot of work to be the one reviewing. And, I review plans too before meetings just to understand the projects better. But I think it's just such a balancing act, and maybe there is some flexibility with the agenda not being so prescriptive on the times. I'm not sure if there's room for flexibility there.
Well, I'll throw this out to Javier. Is there an opportunity, on that front to share some of the reviewing so that it does not fall 100% on the main person?
You mean for the architect or the plans?
Mm-hmm. Right. So, Hansi's just saying from her perspective as the person reviewing the plans in more detail that it's, takes more time. So, is there an opportunity for a second person to take 5 of those, for example?
Right off the bat, I'm not 100% sure. I know there's a potential second architect to come on to review plans, but that's, from my understanding, has to be approved by city council.
Yeah, I'm just putting that out there. I don't think we can make decisions here right now.
Well, I think Sherry's, I think it's a great advice, because right now, currently, when there's an alternate or I'm not on, it gets reviewed regardless by three different board members. So just to break that into half, 15 cases, it's so doable and so much easier. Not easier, but less time consuming. So I would definitely advocate for splitting that pie.
I'm happy to help in that way as well.
Now, I don't know what that means for liability. But you should let us know.
Nancy, I'm wondering if there's an opportunity for the plans examiners to kind of get involved, and even if it's like a plans examiner liaison who can say, from ISD, because they also review the plans. So I don't think anything would be up there that would be inadequate if we have, plans examiners review. So again, I wonder if there's a way for us to utilize them. I know you mentioned the city councilors would need to approve it, but we do have plans examiners spending a lot of time reviewing these plans before it goes to the board. So yeah, so I say that. And then also, I don't know if there's an opportunity to, on Thursdays, maybe have more hearings. We're already, scheduling these things, and I know there's only 3 board members. If there's an opportunity to add to that agenda, and I know we don't want to be on super long on Thursday evenings, but I think that would also probably greatly help to mitigate the flow. As Norm mentioned, a lot of people are waiting a long time, and then when we have cases like today where it wasn't advertised correctly or something it really pushes things back. But I think adding more to the Thursday agenda, or, creating a space where the process is kind of fine-tuned a little bit so that we could see more on Thursdays, it might help.
Jessica, I would love for the BPDA Article 80 to be put forward on Thursdays.
Right, me too.
It
was lighting the load, yeah.
I think we have 2 great solutions. Fine, let's keep it at 30, but if there's a way, Javier, we can do BPDA Article 80 reviews on Thursday sub-hearings, and also to have the cases be reviewed by 2 members. 1515, that would be fantastic.
I'm going to be against that, but we can discuss that further. I think
Jeffrey showed up.
I loved hearing what you guys are discussing. I'm not throwing a hand grenade at the Thursday nights, but that's our board meeting. It's Thursday afternoon. So sometimes our PMs wouldn't be available for previously approved Article 80 projects because they'll be at our board meeting. Good point. Just a heads up.
Can we limit them? I'm sorry, can we limit them in the beginning on our Tuesday hearings and just say all the first cases are BPA, Article 80 reviews, and they should be within a 5-minute presentation? Can we?
Why don't we just do a blanket approval without a hearing?
Yeah, I think the feedback I would make chairing and listening to questions from the board on Article 80 is that's where you play an important role. I've, as you saw in the past couple of meetings, they've actually been pretty expeditious as I nudged them to be brief. However, knowing that these are Article 80 approved projects, and getting the packets ahead of time would encourage you to read them so we don't have to have them restate, community benefits or restate a lot of things in detail that are in the Article 80. So we ourselves can contribute to that piece. I'm gonna throw that back out there again.
Madam Chair, if I can say something about that, I agree with you. I read all the documents. I spent my weekend or Monday doing it, and I love doing this. But community members are not doing this. And I really believe that people paying attention in the media, they need to know what are the benefits. And if a project is providing more affordable housing or more open space or lower IDPs, I think that is important. That is the reason I ask. Because I read the projects, I don't need to hear that again. But the way I ask questions is when I think that a developer is doing something better to set precedent for the next one, or not doing enough for the community to listen. So that is the only reason I ask some questions that are already there in the documentation.
Understood. I wasn't singling you out, by the way. That's just a general comment. But that piece has been hashed out during the BPDA process. So that's why I raised it. And maybe if it's a statement you want to make, let's make statements then that we like something or we don't like something in a productive way, right? So I'm just trying to say that it needs to come from all angles, and I'm trying to do what I can.
And not all Article 80 projects are just, everyone's in agreement. There's a lot of times when there's in a community, you're gonna get a lot of people that wanna go against it. So we're kind of lucky. Again.
Right. We're the last bite at that apple, even though it's been through a rigorous community process. So that's the other piece, right? So, all right. Well, is there anything else folks would like to raise?
I would love to have a action item after this meeting. Like if we can come into a consensus, what 2 things we want to throw back for a city council vote if that's needed, or Javier can let us know what would be the next steps would be good.
So I can bring all your guys' comments and feedback to the higher ups who ultimately make that decision. I cannot alone make that decision, right? But I can bring the feedback up to let them know what the board is thinking.
When you say higher up, who's that?
So we do have a ZBA monthly check-in, different members like EPDA's on that. Ed was on that, just different members of the organization, ISD, and the administration, essentially.
So when's your next meeting for that, Javier?
This Thursday?
Yeah, it's Thursday.
Yeah.
And so, Javier, if you were to create a summary of some solutions, what can you throw it back to us so we can just say, yes, we agree, or there's something that we don't agree with?
I can draft it up and send it to the board for you guys to review before I pitch that. So
that's fantastic, because then it would be like a memorandum from us that we can revise, like edit if there's an error, but it can be an actual document, factual document from our board.
Okay.
I'd also advocate for changing the zoning, so fewer items come before us, the bigger picture.
Let's get right on that.
Big picture.
Good idea.
Don't
Good idea.
go there.
I think that is big picture.
BPDA can do that in a week.
Yes.
If we had a magic wand.
We've hit the 2 o'clock witching hour. I defer to you guys if you still want to keep going.
But Katie, did you want to say something? Was that true?
I'm serious, but I also acknowledge what an undertaking that is. But I do think that is sort of the big picture here. Is there's so many little items, due to something pre-existing or whatever that is before us, and it feels sometimes silly when it's pre-existing. But my background has been 40A community, so I know Boston is totally different. So I'm being serious, but I also acknowledge what an undertaking it would be. But I don't know if there's minor fixes. I don't know.
Somebody's working on that.
So there are going to be, and I can speak since I'm the Javier of the zoning commission. I know there is substantial changes coming forward for this calendar year and early next year. As far as a completely new code, that's a substantial undertaking that's going to take literally years to do. But yes, we are all in agreement about provisos on takeout, or if for retail allowed in Dorchester, why isn't it allowed in West Roxbury? Something, things like that where low-hanging fruit is, we are working on it constantly. So it's not something that has been ignored or goes unnoticed with the variances and conditional uses that you all have to approve, because I've been at the agency for too long, and I've seen that the neighborhoods have been, the zoning was protective, not proactive. So everybody, wanted to have a say in what their neighborhood was doing, and people are very nervous about giving that up. But trust me, we are doing zoning work now that, to be well to your point, we're trying to get things changed.
I also want to acknowledge, Jeffrey, you can tell your BPDA staff that they've been doing a really great job with the summary and making those adjustments, and also references to plans that are moving forward to provide us with that context. So if you can just let them know that they've been.
They know this.
Really great.
I think Ms. Wewell actually sent an email to Amy Chambers stating that. Amy's done a fantastic job, right? I mean, to take basically the one sheet that we had done and now giving you more of a narrative on proposed projects, planning initiatives, Boston 2020, 2030, Boston moves, and East Boston. What she has put in place for you to review is pretty awesome. I think it's tremendous.
Yeah, if you can take that back to your committee that you're meeting with on Thursday. But I think I can say for all of us, we're just trying to always make it better, and it seems like we're listening to each other. So thank you.
My pleasure.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
You're welcome. Thank you. Have a good day.
Yep. Thanks, Javier, for putting us in the agenda. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.